Yeah, do it again. All right. Thank you, everyone. I'm going to call the June 8th meeting of the school committee to order. We have a packed agenda this evening. We have a bunch of guests tonight, which is amazing. Usually we're all alone up here talking into the nothingness, so it's wonderful to see so many faces out there. I'm just going to take a quick spin through the agenda, and then we'll get to the items on our agenda that I think most of you are here for. So we'll start this evening with staff appreciation and celebration, presentation from Dr. Milichewski in recognition of many staff members who are here with us tonight. We have the Robotics team who joined us to give a brief presentation on some of the work that they do, as well as a demo of a robot which is hiding in the corner over there somewhere, so you might want to stick around for that. From there, we'll move into public comment, the consent agenda, reports, and then for the remainder of our new business section, we're going to have an update from the RMHS instructional leadership team, an update on our math pathways work. We'll go over the RISE program review. Ms. Baton will take us through the third quarter and projected year-end financial reports, and then we'll discuss a vote for a budget transfer that we're going to take at our next meeting. We won't take that vote tonight. And then we'll review and vote on recommendations to enter into contracts with extended day enrichment programs. We will close out the night, if it's not already midnight or so, with 8 policies which have amendments that have been recommended to us from the policy subcommittee. and then finally, a policy that we will review for revocation tonight. So, packed agenda. Let's get to the main event, and I will hand it to Dr. Milichewski. Getting there.
All right, well, good evening, everyone. It's really nice to see you, and thanks for having so many folks here to celebrate our amazing staff across the district. This is one of our favorite nights of the year, just to be able to, again, recognize people who are doing incredible work in our community. I'll just say every staff member who we recognize tonight, whether it's a milestone or whether it's an award, are just staff members who go above and beyond for our community. I'd also like to share, too, that there's so many staff in here who are not recognized or nominated or awarded tonight, but who also day in and day out are doing an amazing job for our students. I think I speak on behalf of all of our community when I share that one of the hallmarks of our school district is just our incredible teachers. And I think we have the ability to every day see some of our teachers in action are just blown away by the impact that they have on our students. I'd also just like to share, too, this is in a context where we know that life in this world is hard, education is hard, student needs have never been higher. All the staff who we recognize in this room tonight continue to show up and deliver for our students in some really inspiring and amazing ways. So thank you to all of the staff who will recognize tonight. Congratulations, and we are so lucky to have you supporting our students in RPS. So we're going to go through a variety of different awards and milestones tonight, and look forward to everyone clapping, celebrating, and recognizing, giving them the applause that they deserve. So to start, the first group of staff that we'd like to recognize are professional teacher status. So these are staff members who are completing their 3rd year, now be professional status teachers in our district. So we have a longer list. So I'm going to show the names up on the screen, and there's 2 slides. If you are someone who's here for PTS, I know there's a few. Sorry, we didn't tell you to put you on the spot. If you can just come up or wave and just say your name and school so we can give everyone a round of applause. And again, we know sometimes the folks in this category, the first 3 years in a district can obviously sometimes be really, really challenging, particularly if this is your first 3 years of teaching in general. So we thank you for hanging in there and staying with us and your commitment to our district. So to start, here's first half of our list. If there's anyone in the room, come on up, just share your name and school. We'd love to give you a round of applause. Our professional status teachers.
Pathologist at Rise Preschool. I'm Judy Farrell at Parker Middle School art teacher.
We have some more names on slide 2 in case anyone did not step forward. Come on up.
nurse over at Joshua Eaton.
Again, congratulations on achieving professional teacher status, and we look forward to many more years to come. Shifting gears into the next milestone, so we hope that those 3 years soon turn to 10 years of service. We're going to recognize 10 and then 20 years of service. So similar as before, if anyone who is on this list can come forward and share, 10 years is a long time to be committed to a district, so we really appreciate this length of time and tenure in the district. So first group, come on forward, and 10 years.
Preschool.
Debbie Forrestal, Barrows. Jill Damari, kindergarten paraeducator, Barrows.
And we have slide 2 of tenure as well. If there's anyone else in the room who is not on slide 1.
Andy.
Karen Munganast, Coolidge office.
I'm Lynna Williams. I'm at the high school in the counseling office.
Kevin Gerstner, I work for the facilities office.
Andy Strutt, District IT.
And congratulations again to all of our 10 years. Just like to emphasize that 10 years is a really long time to be committed to a district. In a time in education where there's a lot of turnover, we recognize that coming in and day out, that stability means so much to our students too. So thank you for your dedicated service to our students. We look forward to celebrating you hopefully in this next milestone, which is our 20 years of service too. So if we have any folks from our 20 years of service, feel free to come on forward.
I'm Lisa Finnegan, Wood End School.
I'm Sarah Doan, Coolidge Middle School.
I'm Sarah Lenson from Barrows.
Paul Morrissey from here at RMHS.
And a huge congratulations and thank you for 20 years of service to RPS. Last year we celebrated 30 years. We do not have anyone who hit the 30-year threshold this year, but we do have a couple that, assuming that they hang on for one more year, we'll celebrate next year. All right, so on to our retirements. So I think that from all the folks here who are retiring, we know that this is for many, both an exciting and also a sad, so a real bittersweet moment for both personally and professionally. I would like to take a moment to have each of the retirees come forward. We've asked that either one of their colleagues, one of their students, one of their families, one of their supervisors comes forward and has just a couple of words on their behalf. While I know that the retirement parties will have the chance to maybe share more at length some of their accomplishments and contributions, we asked someone who's going to share it to keep it to about a minute or so, just so we, again, have a chance to recognize everyone. So this is our list of retirees. And I know we do not have everyone here tonight too, so if I call someone's name, we'll clap, and if they do not come forward, we'll then just move on to the next person's name as well too, because everyone was not able to make it tonight. So let's start and give a round of applause for Mary Ann. Okay, we'll move on to Jean. I saw Jean here today, so we'll ask Jean to come forward.
evening, everybody. My name is Andy Spinelli. I'm a 7th grade English teacher at Parker Middle School, and I am really honored to be here tonight to speak on behalf of both of the retirees that we have this evening. Jean is off to a really good start. For those of you that know Jean, she always has a spiral notebook with her, and she's taking notes constantly, including like our last team leader meeting where half of us couldn't even stay awake, and she's asking questions about next year. So it's a privilege to be here to honor Jean, who's going to retire next week after 23 years of teaching in Reading. Jean has worked as a paraeducator, learning center teacher, and for the last 13 years as an English teacher in our LEAD program. Before becoming a teacher, Jean was a social worker. So teaching and seeing the whole child isn't just trendy educational lingo for her. It's the only way she knows how to do it. For 12 years, Jean and I have been neighbors, counterparts, and teammates. So I have had a front row seat to the magic that she has performed. It would be easy to stand up here tonight and recount all that Jean has done during her career. But upon reflection, it's what Jean does not do that has made her such a distinguished educator and friend to so many of us. Jean never turns down an opportunity to help a colleague. She is selfless and the consummate team player. Jean never forgets to put our students' needs and well-being at the center of every decision we make. Our team social studies teacher, Eric Goldstein, put it best when he described her as a fierce advocate of her students and what is right. Most importantly, Jean never gives up on a student, and I mean never. She sees them for both who they are and who they can be. She finds the good in every kid, working tirelessly to help them see it in themselves. And Jean, we as your colleagues will never forget your impact on our building. To use one of your favorite words, we will operationalize all that you have taught us and continue to speak up and do what's best for our students. Thank you for all that you have done for the students and staff in Parker. We wish you a healthy and happy retirement.
Next, we'd like to invite up Mo.
You want me to talk? Hey, I'm going to see Gloria here. Kevin Gerstner. So, Mo's been with the department since 1986, is that right? Yep. And he has seen everything, like everything. He is what makes RMHS work every day. He's here every day, every morning before 6 a.m. And he is with us through the entire school day. He does everything from painting lines out on the fields for the athletics. He sets up assemblies. He keeps the building clean. He maintains equipment. Really quick, one thing Mo recently did, so yesterday, I don't know if he even knows I paid attention to this, but we had some power go out in part of the building, and we were having difficulty finding where the power is to be turned back on, and Mo remembered that which part of the building had been built in which order, and so he knew which parts of the building not to look because the building hadn't been built yet. And so that kind of stuff is what's going to be lost when Mo leaves, and it's going to be hard to replace that kind of knowledge. So anyway, so thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Lucille, aka Miss K.
Well, good evening. It's my distinct pleasure to introduce everyone to Miss K. Lucille Kalianitis has been with us for over 31 years, which I think in and of itself. We had the opportunity to celebrate as a staff about Lucille yesterday, and we're all standing. And I shared with her that I wasn't ready to say anything because I'm not ready to accept this yet, but here we are. So, not only is Lucille a staple at Killam, but she's a Reading resident. She's here with her husband, Don, and her grandchildren were with us last night. The community means everything to her, but Killam really is where her heart is. She's been a special education teacher with us during this duration, and there are countless stories I could tell you about the families and the kids I can't tell you the amount of emails I get that say, I know I'm not supposed to ask, but is there any way we could have Ms. K again? Or Ms. K sent us a video, or Ms. K answered this email about our daughter and we need you to know that. She is valued and seen and heard just for being who she is because she's a presence with us. She's not only a strong educator, but she's driven by seeing her kids' growth. And in there is always a positivity. And for those who are working with students day in and day out, especially students who are putting their heart and soul in what they're doing in the special education department, those small successes and somebody who's cheering them on is essential. And there is nobody who does that better than Ms. K. So, I will say to her that as a colleague and as somebody who is feeling supported by you on a daily basis, thank you for advocating for our kids. Thank you for being here. Thank you for making sure that your heart is in everything. For those who know Lou, you know that if you talk to her, you are, as I said, not only seen and heard, but she is genuine and present and caring. And that is what makes her a great person. But more importantly, that's what makes her a gem to us. So thank you.
And Barbara. Marlene. Shelley. And I know Bill is here.
Yes, he is. Mr. Mack.
Bill loves this kind of stuff. Right up his alley. Yep. So again, man, I work with some great people. I really do. So I am honored to speak on behalf of the Parker Middle School staff about Bill McIndore, who will retire next week after 32 years of dedicated service to the students and families of Reading. Bill and I were on the same team for the first 11 years of my career here in Reading. I first met him in the summer of 2010, and when he basically had to duck down to fit through my door, my initial thought was, well, good, this tall guy will be the enforcer on the team. How'd that work out? No. It was the first of many lessons that Bill would teach me without actually saying a word. The terms gentle giant and big teddy bear were built for the man affectionately called Mr. Mack by his students. Known for his saint-like patience and calm, soft-spoken demeanor, Bill has spent over 3 decades teaching 7th grade science in Parker Room 112. In that entire stretch, we believe that on record, there have been less than 3 instances where he has raised his voice. I repeat, he teaches 7th grade. I think I raised my voice 3 times, period 7 today. Whether he's encouraging a student struggling with a task or de-escalating a certain frazzled 20-something-year-old English teacher after a tough lesson, Bill uses his presence, that trademark smile and reassuring head nod, to help people feel seen, to send the message that you got this, and probably more importantly, I've got you. Bill, on behalf of every parent, colleague, and student who had benefited from those reassuring nods, welcoming smiles, and short and sweet pep talks, thank you for your unwavering professionalism, compassion, and wisdom. You leave our building with a legacy cemented in kindness. We wish you and your family a healthy, happy retirement full of bird watching, fishing, and sightseeing. You will be missed.
Bob. And Bridget. Christine. Amy. Selma. And last but not least, Laura. And congratulations to all of our retirees on your amazing dedication and service. Well, we know you have many other post-teaching opportunities lined up. If you ever have the itch to come back into the classroom in RPS, we'll welcome you with open arms. We have many different opportunities in our district, but we wish you the best and hope you enjoy the next phase of whatever that brings. So shifting gears into our last recognition, we have the Distinguished Teacher and Distinguished Staff Award. So last year we had a new award, the Distinguished Teacher Award, which went to teachers across our district who are recognized for their excellent work with our students in our schools. These nominations came from students, came from staff, came from families. So in total, between teachers and staff, we had over 100 nominations. I think our team just really enjoyed reading them and to see the impact that so many of our amazing educators are having on our students each day. So today we're excited to recognize 12 teachers, and then we'll move into 5 staff members. So similar as with the retirements, we're going to ask, we're going to read each recipient's name, ask that they come forward, and ask whoever's speaking on their behalf to share some words. And I think all of these educators represent the absolute best of the best that we have in our district. So thanks in advance and congratulations to all of our recipients. And we're going to start with Jerry. And I'm keeping everyone on their toes. I'm mixing up the J's, so we'll go Jerry and then Joyce after. I apologize for that. So, Jerry, thank you.
Hi, my name is Nyla Jade Nortellis, and I'm speaking for Mr. Coyne. He works at Coolidge Middle School. This is a surprise. He didn't know I was saying this.
Awesome.
I'm a student of his. I have been a student of his in 7th grade and currently 8th grade. Okay, I'm going to start. I'm a little nervous. Mr. Coyne is a perfect example of the Reading Public School District's mission. He instills a love of science by interacting with us on our level. He's always kind, funny, approachable, and willing to listen to a student's opinion, and he never gets mad, even when you can see on his face that he wants to. Apart from the positivity he brings to Coolidge Middle School, science has become a favorite subject for me because of his teaching. We learn a lot of information in a fun and interesting way. Every topic comes with hands-on labs, online games, online readings, and an end-of-topic test that summarizes everything we have gone over. I enjoy learning science because of him, and he has inspired me to try to take honors science when I moved to RMHS. Even though he told me it wasn't a good idea to take honors science, but yeah, honestly, he's just not only a good teacher, he's a good person, and I look up to him like so much. I look up to him a lot. And on behalf of my classmates and colleagues, I just think he really deserves this. So thank you, Mr. Coyne.
I'd also like to add, too, that these awards come with a small monetary stipend, too, that's provided by the Berger Family Trust, which was given by Arnold Berger in honor to recognize exemplary RPS teachers. So thank you to the Family Trust, too, to be able to make this possible. Shifting to Joyce.
Michelle Roche told me to keep this to a minute. It's going to be about 10. Hang on. When staff found out that Joyce was receiving the honor, they couldn't wait to share the many reasons she's so deserving. So, of course, the humor aside, they sent me thoughts like, she has fabulous hair. She arrives on time for work most days. She's a solidly average teacher. However, in all seriousness, we know she's one of the most patient, flexible, and consistent teachers many of us have ever worked with. She cares deeply about kids, and not just their skills, but their ability to form friendships. She's willing to try anything to help a student meet with success, and we've seen that in the classroom. She's not afraid to try something new or admit when something's not working. She's not stuck in her ways. She's open to new ideas, exploring new curriculum, new practices, always focused on her students. She epitomizes what a preschool teacher should be. She welcomes her students every day, engages them in song, sign language, and learning. She redirects with kindness, is firm when behavior is inappropriate, and uses her awesome sense of humor if she needs to turn a situation around. She obviously loves what she does. Her work ethic, humor, and positivity are contagious. As Rise ended up in 3 different schools, Joyce actually became the glue that held everyone together. So whether it was hosting a social event at her house or sending out a group text, which she's famous for, she finds a way to keep everyone connected. She's mentored many teachers and is always willing to answer questions, offer advice, lend a hand, or just listen. As a friend, colleague, educator, and professional, she epitomizes everything that we try to instill in our students as well. She's made long-lasting impressions on preschool students, families, and colleagues. She's typically known as the guru or go-to person for advice. She's a preschool expert. One staff member mentioned she said, I actually never got to go to preschool when I was little, but I get to do it now. And I've learned so much from Joyce. So whenever a child comes up to her to tell on another little friend, Joyce typically replies, "Oh, you should really talk to him about that." And they actually do it. We've worked alongside many teachers, but never anyone as great as Joyce. She's a standout educator who deserves to be recognized at Rise, and we can't think of a more deserving educator today. We're lucky to have her.
And Leah.
Hi everyone, my name is Allie Jufrey. I'm Miss Christie's student at Parker Middle School. I'm really excited to be here tonight, and it's a privilege for me to be able to share with everyone why I nominated Miss Christie for this award. Her fun personality, strong character, and brilliant teaching style has helped me to develop a passion for Spanish. I'll always remember the unique ways Miss Christie helped us pick up the vocabulary. Like when she helped us remember cantar, which means to sing. Through the STEM can't, she joked that we'll always remember this word because Miss Christie can't sing. She can always find ways to make learning so enjoyable. Miss Christie isn't just my Spanish teacher, she's also my friend. Over these last 2 years, I saw how she could effortlessly make genuine connections with her students. Not only learning about us and showing interest in what we do, but also sharing about herself so we could get to know her better. Like how she's the biggest Celtics fan you'll ever meet. Thank you for being a ray of light and for bringing so much joy to our school. I don't know how I'll ever manage to handle next year without you. Congratulations on winning the Distinguished Teaching Award, Miss Christie.
Jacqueline.
The short people here, speaking for myself. So I'm honored to be here tonight. I am a parent of a child in Miss Gargano's class. Miss Gargano is an amazing third grade teacher. You know when your son says, "Wow, this year flew by," that it was a good year. And you know when he says, "Can the whole class stay back and have the same teacher again next year?" You know you hit the jackpot. She goes above and beyond in shaping the hearts and minds of our kiddos. At Barrows, we have 5 beliefs, and she lives them every day. The first is persevere. She teaches our kids to persevere. She pushes them to step outside of their comfort zone while in a safe environment. Be kind. She fosters a loving and nurturing environment that creates a safe space for our kids to learn best. Collaborate. Her collaboration not only with the kids but with the parents is top-notch. I think I'm going to miss communicating with her next year. I might just email you just in case. Be safe. She always has the safety, physical and mental, top of mind for our students. She always has an open door with all of the parents. Be respectful. She creates an environment in the classroom where the kiddos respect each other, and they've created a family. They truly care about each other and Ms. Gargano. In addition to Ms. Gargano's work in the classroom, she also runs the Barrows Talent Show, which is a lot of work and a huge hit with the kids, and I just wish I could sneak in to see it. If I could go back to 3rd grade, I would love to go back and have Mrs. Gargano as a teacher. Thank you for a great year.
Tara.
My name is Sarah Marchant. I'm the proud principal of Coolidge and very honored to be standing here to talk about Tara Herlihy on behalf of the many colleagues and students who nominated her. So Tara Herlihy is always willing to go the extra mile for her students. At Coolidge, she is currently team leader for Team Explorer and teaches small group ELA and reading. Her ELA classes are well structured and high quality while also allowing students to explore their identity and have some fun. And when it comes to students and adults, she's really, she has a special knack for finding the goodness in everybody and bringing that to the surface and really celebrating everyone for who they are in all their unique talents. Beyond Coolidge, she started and now coaches the new unified basketball team, which is, if you haven't seen it, it's worth following in the future because it's absolutely amazing. In addition, during the pandemic, she's always organized Special Olympics, and during the pandemic, she actually, when it was canceled, as a state, she brought it to Reading, got it started here in Reading so that the kids and the athletes still had a competition to go to, and it has now become a wonderful community event that has lasted for years and years. So it's just been really wonderful. Tara continuously has a positive attitude and inspires all of her students as well as the staff around her, myself included, and she makes a very mean brookie. So congratulations, Tara.
Steve.
Hi, everyone. I am Lynna Williams. I'm the Director of School Counseling, and I have the privilege of honoring Steve Kennedy. He has been with us 17 years, and I started 10 years ago, and he was the one that I feel like mentored me when I started. Anyone who knows Steve knows his heart is filled with compassion, empathy, respect, and a genuine love for all the students that he works with. From the first year I met Steve, it was clear he always put his students first and took the time to get to know and understand all of their unique needs and personalities. He is a fearless advocate for them and always makes sure anyone who interacts with him feels heard, understood, and appreciated. I'm incredibly lucky to have him on my team. It's no surprise that you received this award. When the counselors found this out, like there was a big celebration, and he's like, no, 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 we're a team. And that's exactly just who he is. He's a very humble, kind, just genuinely sincere individual, and I'm just so lucky to be here to honor him, but to work with him every day. So congratulations.
Miriam.
All
All right, Miss Lewis. She is the home of the llamas at Joshua Eaton. Miss Lewis is an absolutely dynamic educator. Miriam, your vibrant personality is just your classroom. I remember the first time that I walked by your room and I wondered, did you hire an improv group to come read this book? And I walked in and Miriam was like impersonating all of the different characters of her book so perfectly. Miriam students know that she loves them for who they are and values what they bring to her classroom. I think you've heard enough from me. So I have a virtual guest here. So let's see if this works out. We're going to try some 21st century.
Miss Lewis, you are an amazing teacher. You are kind, helpful, wonderful, and awesome. You are so funny and surprising. You are the perfect teacher. And yes, I did remember to use punctuation. Love, Jackson Brown.
So Jackson is one of Miriam's students, and he is a student who will never forget his experience in Miss Lewis's classroom. And him and his mom wish he could be here today, but they are in spirit. So thank you.
Ariel.
Good evening. Heather Leonard, STEM Curriculum Coordinator. When I was asked if I would speak on behalf of Ariel, I think I did a legit happy dance. I was so thrilled that I had the opportunity and asked if I had at least a half an hour. Ariel she's a dangerous classroom to go do walkthrough visits with because you can't leave. It is the place that hooks you and connects you as an adult, as a child. It is joyful, it is curious, it is rigorous, it is engaging, and it's just a place that you can tell that the students leave loving learning and loving being students, and they know they're so lucky to have her as a teacher. I think I've really enjoyed the chance to work with Ariel over the last few years as a teacher leader who really leads by doing. She's willing to take risks. She really leaned into some of the new curriculum work we've done and has done it with a willingness to try, to engage, to expand her own capacity, and even better, really be a supportive teammate with all of her colleagues within her building and her school community and with the district as a whole. I think one of the things that's really, really special, though, is that she is just such an authentically great person. So not only is she a wonderful teacher and a really fabulous colleague, but you can just connect and talk and just feel that kindness and that care. And you feel lucky to have a chance to know her and work with her. Not only her work, both in formal ways, but informal ways, stepping up to volunteer as a member of the instructional leadership team, co-facilitator of the R-Star chapter of Birch Meadow. She's a 4th grade data team facilitator. She's on the math implementation team. She engaged in the math, we can go on and on. But I think emphasizing the fact that it just is so authentically just who she is this like authentic, wonderful person that kids and adults around her can feel. And I did reach out to her principal because I was lucky I got to speak on her behalf tonight. So is there anything you want me to say? And I think he summed it up well. So what he did say was, if there's any way you can emphasize how brilliant she is as a teacher, how willing she is to sincerely collaborate with colleagues to promote growth and develop skills throughout the district, and a complete and total dedication to the district-wide commitment to ensuring that teaching practices and systems are equitable for all students. I think he nailed it. So congratulations.
Helen.
Well, it's my honor to celebrate and introduce Helen Palmieri for those who do not know her. She's here with her wonderful family, so we're glad you're here today. Ms. Palmieri is a current 5th grade teacher at Killam, and she has been with us for over 20 years now doing this work. And what a job she does. She is there every single day to meet with the kids before school. It's not unusual to be walking in, and we have a collection of students who are helping out or doing some task that we're never quite sure what it is, but they're where they need to be and doing what they need to do. She's also somebody who's there at the end of the day making sure that every student is safe and supported and made it home as part of her job as assistant principal. She also makes sure that anything that is asked of her, and sometimes it's the stuff I don't want to do, she takes care of. And she makes sure that everyone is valued and heard in that position also. Similar to statements you've heard before, she really is the glue at Killam, and I don't think there's anyone who doesn't know Miss Palmieri, parents included. And another one where I get the emails of, can we just sneak my child in that class? She won't mind if we're up to 25. And it's wonderful to hear these things, but it's even better knowing that they're all true. And so the family that nominated Miss Palmieri, the Macari family, was here, but just had to sneak out a few minutes ago, but wanted to make sure that you knew that you see every child for who they are. You value every child for who they are. You allow them to be the unique individuals that they are, but it's about creating a community that accepts and appreciates everyone. And I think that's a beautiful way to say everything you do is important and every life you touch matters. And she will single-handedly keep social studies alive
But I will.
in the world. All right, so we'll start with that. But no, seriously, your empathy knows no bounds, and your compassion is there every single day. And we know the kids that are with you are safe and learning in a creative way, an innovative way, and that you're not afraid to take a risk in whatever that may be. So on behalf of everyone, thank you.
Thank you.
Chuck.
Good evening. I'm Allison Williams. I'm the head of the Math and Business Department here at RMHS. And tonight I have the privilege of sharing some thoughts about our friend Chuck Strout, who is one of the winners of our Distinguished Teacher Award this year. Chuck has some official titles. They are teacher in the Math and Business Department and also Technology Integration Specialist. But honestly, Chuck is so much more than that I honestly don't even remember the title half the time, because he is the person who you can call for anything. If you're a teacher and your smartboard isn't working, you call Chuck. If you're really in the know, you text him. And he shows up in your room lickety-split. If you're a student and you have forgotten your password again, you're going to find Mr. Strout. He's going to be happy to receive you. He's going to help you out. You need to help students build a robot that's going to beat other robots. Mr. Strout is who you are looking for that. They are going to knock it out of the park. Something that I particularly appreciate in this season of creating a master schedule at the high school, Chuck is our go-to for that, and he has this ability to visualize multiple changes and what's going to happen if we make this change and what's going to be the effect all in his head, multiple moves all at once, and I'm trying to catch up to him. And I can just say that no matter what you need, if it has anything to do with technology, even if it's not really something that Chuck is supposed to do, Chuck is going to help you. He's going to be happy to do it. He's always calm, cool, and collected, and we're very proud that he's a member of our department as well as the whole staff. So Chuck, congratulations, and I'm so pleased to present this to you.
Elmi.
Mrs. Trevay has an entourage here. It's not just Rosie and I think all the nurses in the district may have shown up to support her. Just really briefly before I introduce Rosie, when Mrs. Trevejo is not in her office tending to the day-to-day care of students, she can be found offering a quiet space, checking to see how students' days are, or most recently, as in yesterday, getting pie in the face by a first grader. Mrs. Trevejo is an absolutely just incredible person. She goes above and beyond for our school, and JE is a better place because of you. I'd like to introduce Rosie Martel-Foley.
I'm so honored to be able to share remarks for Nurse Elmi Trevejo and the special role she plays at Joshua Eaton and in our broader community. I am not without my bias. I am the daughter of a school nurse, and I have seen intimately the unique position people like Elmi play in the community as skilled educators on health, safety, nutrition, mental health, and injury prevention, and on and on. So when I joined the Joshua Eaton community as a parent last fall, I had really high expectations and already anticipated that Elmi would be an important person in my children's life and my life, and that I hoped that we would establish a good working relationship. From well before school even started, Elmi has outperformed any expectations I had and shown me time and time again what an authentic, thoughtful, affirming, talented, and caring leader she is. She has taken it upon herself to understand my kids and what makes them who they are, which you might expect of a school nurse, but I cannot even begin to share the ways in which I know she has gone above and beyond to advocate for the needs of students and families like ours. I am here tonight speaking for myself and my family, but I would be remiss to not say that anyone who speaks of Elmi does so with heart eye emojis, because she truly makes everyone, students, parents, families, and colleagues alike, feel so loved and cared for. Elmi, thank you for loving my children and all the kids at JE as deeply and meaningfully as you do.
Your last teaching recipient, Diane.
For the other short people here, I have to lower this. So I'm Nicole Schwartz, the principal of Woodend. I am honored to be here today to give this award to Diane. Diane began working at Woodend as a first-year sales special education teacher this year after a variety of experiences in other educational settings, and has very quickly become an integral part of our school community. She's dedicated to her craft and to the students she teaches. She has worked very diligently this year to ensure she's creating a safe and engaging and learning environment for her students, and she comes to school every single day with a smile on her face, regardless of the challenges that she is going to face on any given day. She has put forth 200% of herself each day, and that's been shown in the growth that her students had made throughout this year. Diane's professional, collaborative, she's flexible, and always willing to learn and apply skills to support and benefit her students. I know I say this on behalf of all of the Woodend staff, but we're super lucky to have you as part of our team, so congratulations.
So our last 5 awards go to staff members who are not in the RTA, so non-teacher roles. And I think that all of these roles, I think anyone who works in the district knows these are the glue roles across our district. So we, from cafeteria staff to secretarial staff, to paraprofessionals, to custodial staff, to bus drivers, to coaches, all of the different roles that comprise our district and that touch our students in so many different ways. And I think that these are a lot of times the roles that are sort of like not celebrated in the ways that I think our community really needs to and across the education sector. So I'm really glad to recognize 5 staff members who have gone above and beyond for our students. So we're going to start with Chicky to come on up and receive your recognition.
The students and staff at Parker are truly fortunate to have Chicky in our cafeteria. She's highly competent, a heck of a good cook, and provides us all with nourishing meals served up with a side of love. Can you imagine the buzzing hub that is a middle school cafeteria, especially on taco or pizza day? Students sprint to line to receive helpings of hot, delicious, carefully planned meals, giving them the boost they'll need to be their best selves for the rest of the day. Chicky efficiently moves the masses through the process, getting hundreds of students what they need within the first 10 minutes of 3 different lunch waves. That is an impressive feat, but it's the warmth with which she performs her duties that makes all the difference. She makes eye contact and smiles at each person in her line. She's patient when they make last-minute decisions to swap their chips for Doritos or the popsicle for the ice cream sandwich. She reminds them to grab utensils or encourages them to take some fruit. She makes everyone feel at home, comfortable, and cared for. Chicky is passionate about and proud of the food served in Parker's cafeteria. This November, she grabbed my arm and gave me a tip. Don't bring your lunch from home tomorrow. We're making a Thanksgiving feast with all the fixings. Another time, she wanted my feedback on her homemade gravy, her red sauce that she served with pasta. She asked the students how they like different new menu choices and makes adjustments. She spoils us by bringing extra cups of apple crisp to the teacher's lounge when all lunches have been served. She even prepared fresh bruschetta for us at the beginning of the school year with all ingredients straight from her garden. Thank you, Chickie, for nurturing us all and filling our bellies at Parker. Congratulations, you are so deserving.
Lisa.
I brought a friend with me this time. It's Emily McNullen. She's our PTO president, so she's going to speak also. I said when I introduced Lisa to our incoming kindergarten, I said she actually runs this place and I'm just her sidekick, and I say that very seriously. Lisa is not only an amazing human, but she's an excellent administrative assistant. She consistently exceeds her responsibilities, always going above and beyond to support the community. She is extremely collaborative, organized, and efficient, and is an incredible pro at multitasking. She knows every child in our building. She knows their families. She handles her responsibilities with professionalism and ease, and she can answer any questions that other people send her way, but she has answered every question I have sent her way this year. She has a warm, calming presence that really makes her a joy to work with every day. There are not enough thank yous I can give you or say to you to express my gratitude, especially this year as a new principal in Reading, and for all the support you give our community on a daily basis. So congratulations, this is so well deserved, Lisa.
I'm going to quickly emote on Lisa as well. When I saw that this award was being given out for the first time this year, I turned to the rest of the PTO and we said to ourselves, we've got to nominate Lisa. She is the heart of our school. You know all the staff, you know all the students, and I will put money on that you know every parent as well. She goes above and beyond, not only for the school, but also for us as PTO. You check our mail, you do backpack, you make sure we know how we're tracking, you help with enrichment, you don't care that we leave stuff in your office, you don't mind that I'm constantly like, Lisa, can I have the key to the PTO closet? I can bother you with anything, you don't care, you are amazing. And it's for these reasons and more, Lisa, we just love you. You're the best, the best.
Denise.
So this may be the only time I have the microphone and Denise doesn't, because Denise is in charge of all things microphone related at Killam School. But really, as Nicole just shared, Denise is in charge of all things related to Killam School. I have no shame in saying I may have the title of principal, but I am not the one that runs the school. And when individuals ask, where is that, or do we have this, every single time I say, I have no idea, go talk to Denise. So, Denise, you have been with us also for many years in many different roles, and you are never allowed to leave. We've already discussed this, so Bob, I'm sorry, but she will be with us forever. Maybe Rebecca will come join us at some point too. It's a delight to have you, but more than anything, it's what you bring to our staff and our kids and our families. Denise is there every day, an extended day, or most days, I should say, greeting our students that way, but then also making sure that when the students walk through the door, she's holding the door saying hello. And for those of you that know the impact that has on a family and a kid to have somebody say good morning every day, it's monumental. So that's incredible. She also is in charge of the buses. So you're often the first and the last individual that our students see. And I wouldn't ask for anyone else to be doing that. She, as you've heard with many, is really our glue that keeps our school together. She is the one that people look up to and ask for things, and you never say no, which is a word I love, and we're going to teach that to you. But really, you're an advocate for the school, the community. Denise single-handedly got me through COVID with a text message a day asking how I was, which I appreciated. But really, her impact on the community is even larger. There isn't anything she isn't doing. For those of you who are available next Wednesday afternoon, she'll be hosting Flag Day at Killam School, which really is about celebrating who we are, not only as Killam students, but really as Americans, but more importantly, who we are and what we believe in as individuals. So thank you for that. Amy Hussey, our art teacher, is the individual who nominated her, and they are thick as thieves, as I would say, which is fantastic, but really, she wanted you to know how much you mean to us, how much you mean to her, and how really Killam School one day will maybe be called Denise Diozo's School. You know, we've got something coming.
We have a policy for that.
But honestly, it's an honor, exactly. It's an honor and a privilege to be standing next to you every day, and I thank you for coming in. It is a job that is not recognized enough, and I hope you know that you are seen by all of us. So thank you.
Shayla.
It is my pleasure to speak on behalf of the Barrow staff about Shayla Leary. While her official role is as a para-educator in the REACH program at Barrows Elementary School, Shayla willingly and with a positive attitude steps into whatever role or task that is asked of her every day. Shayla responds to every situation with a calm confidence which both students and staff have come to rely on. During some of the most difficult moments, you see compassion and empathy as the foundation of her interactions, instinctively knowing what is needed to make the situation better. Shayla has also accepted a role in support of all para-educators across the district, giving a voice to the critical role they play throughout the district. We are incredibly fortunate to have Shayla at Barrows and in the Reading Public Schools, and we are thrilled to be able to recognize her with this Distinguished Staff Award.
Last but not least, Ben. I do not think Ben is able to make it tonight, but Ben is on our custodial team at Coolidge. So just give Ben a round of applause. Thank you, Vanessa, for coming up to say a few words.
My name is Vanessa, and I work at Coolidge. So Ben is not here. He's at a concert, which is apparently more fun. So Ben is our Coolidge day shift custodian, who is always willing to do whatever is asked of him. He never complains and always works with a smile on his face. No matter how big or small, enjoyable or horrendous the ask, he takes on each challenge with a friendly of course. Our classrooms, bathrooms, hallways, cafeteria, and outside grounds are always clean and inviting. He truly is amazing.
I can close just by, and then open up to anyone who has anything to share too, of just thanking everyone for coming tonight and the support. And again, just it's really inspiring and really humbling to hear all the recognition tonight and to hear all the ways that they've impacted so many of our students. So thank you to our amazing staff for what you do for our students each day. We are really, really lucky to have the best staff. So thank you, and I'd like to, if anyone else would like to share.
I'd just like to personally thank Mr. Kennedy while he's still here. I nominated him, and I honestly don't think I'd have graduated on time without him. He's been a huge impact on my life, so thank you.
Anybody? Okay. I think Dr. Milczewski said it well on behalf of all of us. So thank you all for being here. Thank you to all the families for, we know that the folks are, these are hard jobs, right? And it comes with a lot of support from your families and friends, and we appreciate that as well. So thank you all very much. Congratulations to those of you who are hitting important milestones as well. So thank you, and have a great night. All right, so we are going to shift gears. That was not a pun intended as we roll out a robot. We're going to shift gears. We have the Robotics team here who are going to start off with a brief presentation, and then we're going to get a demo of a robot as well. So we'll give 1 second just for folks who are going to filter out to do that.
My computer now, so my computer is really loud. It's technically a gaming computer.
Yeah,
it's just
I
like
guess.
when I say hi, one available when I got a laptop. But
Most gaming computers, because they need like a speed.
ignore this. This isn't for.
It's in one of the Chrome tabs. We're going to move on to our next agenda item tonight.
I'm disappointed that it's not named after something like rockets.
But our school logo is a
I want to
rocket.
kick everybody out, but
Rock and Sonic and Robots would have been nice, but
gavel?
Battle Bots. Maybe a future one.
Do a 5-minute adjournment or something.
Yeah.
They're talking really
Filter. What's that?
You're talking really loud.
Yeah.
You're talking teacher voice.
I don't have a teacher voice.
Yes, you do. I believe in you. I believe in you. And now it's time for the rockets.
1, 2.
Eyes on you.
1, 2.
Eyes on you. Maybe the kindergarten clap. Should we do the kindergarten clap?
All right. All right. Thanks, everyone. All right, so we're going to move on. We've got the Robotics team here. We've got your presentation up. You could just give us a next slide when you're ready for the next slide, and we'll hand it to you to take it away. You might want to speak up.
Yep. Okay.
We need to give him.
Hang on. Let's just give 1 second. People are filtering out.
We could give you a nice jazz hands whenever we want to go to the next slide, too. I love it. Love it. There you
All right, go ahead. It's all yours.
Move just a bit. Okay.
Hold the other one closer. This one. Yeah.
Just this one?
Yeah.
Got it. I'll just put this right between us.
The little one is for RCTV, the big one's for the room.
Okay. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Can you all hear me?
You're on.
Yes. Awesome. Hi, I'm Alistair Lyons, the outgoing business president and incoming programming lead of the Robotics.
And I'm Maureen Manning, the outgoing project manager and incoming technical president of the Robotics.
As we just said, we come from the Robotics, a FIRST robotics team number 4761 that competes annually in an international competition where we learn a bunch of skills, have fun, and do our absolute best to win the entire thing. And we just want to show you a bit about the overall course of what a year looks like for us and how we run our team, as well as just what skills we learn along the way. So, next slide.
So we learn a lot of skills on our team because freshmen come onto the team knowing nothing about building robots for the most part. So we spend our preseason teaching new members how to use our 3D modeling software to program the robot in Java and to use all of the precision machinery in our shop in order to learn the skills they need to build robots.
In order to learn all of these skills, we also learn teamwork along the way. We learn how to delegate projects as well as just communicate with each other over Slack, which is the program we use to communicate. Overall, we learn how to run our team successfully, and through project delegation, we make sure every single person constantly has a task that they're working on that they enjoy, and everybody has a great time because of it.
We also learn how to be effective leaders on our team, as it's a student-run team by our 9 elected team leads, who are responsible for planning out events for the whole year, and making sure that everyone has stuff to do and that our team is well-funded.
I love that.
So funding a robotics team is not exactly easy. Our annual budget is $30,000 at a minimum, and that is a lot of money to a high school team. But we're able to fund our team in 2 main ways. The first is grants, where we apply every year to a multitude of generous companies. This year we were accepted by the Women's Cultural Council, Schneider Electric, Analog Devices, and the Reading Cultural Council, Sorry, I can't read the slide up there.
Women's League.
Women's League, yep. Thank you. We also applied to many other grants and they accepted us as well, but if we put them all on the slide, we would run out of space. In addition to just applying for grants, we also host our own fundraisers. This year we hosted a Chipotle and Fuddruckers fundraiser where both our community and our team members got to help fund the team while having a fantastic meal along the way. But a huge portion of our funding comes from concession sales at our very own field house at RMHS. And because of this, we love to have our competitions. Both we love the community and we just love having fun with everybody at the competitions themselves. Jazz hands.
So a lot of the preseason is spent teaching new members so that they can be prepared when our build season starts. But we teach all the new members the skills that they'll need through, for all of the different sub-teams in both programming, or in all of programming, electrical, and mechanical.
To help us through this process, we have various mentors and alumni who come in and help teach our members to know what they don't even know. And these professionals, we have a senior engineer from Amazon Robotics, a Northeastern professor, an alumni who's going for a PhD in robotics, just to name a few. And these mentors and alumni help us to work towards our ultimate goal of building a robot, winning the competition, having a great time along the way.
So our team uses fun projects throughout the preseasons to teach all the students new skills so that they can be prepared for the build season, and to make sure that that our team is always working on new things and everyone's having a good time. So this year, one of our preseason projects was building a drivetrain so that new members would have an idea of what we would be doing during build season. And we also fixed up our t-shirt cannon, which had been a previous preseason project, and you can see a picture of on the slide.
Now, during our preseason, we also like to prioritize community outreach by hosting various super fun events. This year, we hosted a booth at the Fall Street Fair where we showed off our t-shirt cannon to our community by just spreading our love of STEM and just having a great time with all the kids as well as the adults who are interested in robotics. In addition to that, our biggest event this year was the Chain Reaction event, where we reached out to local schools around our district in order to come together and build a massive Rube Goldberg machine, where every kid would build a segment of the machine itself, and then we'd knock it all over like a domino cascading effect until you get the ultimate outcome of the entire thing being completely destroyed. Every kid had an absolutely fantastic time. We had a great turnout, and it was just a fantastic event overall.
In the past, we've had members of our team volunteer to mentor First LEGO League teams, which is similar to the competitions we do, but it's on a smaller scale for younger kids. But the First LEGO League hasn't run in Reading in the past few years. We're hoping to help the town get it started up again next year, and would love to have some of our team members helping mentor younger kids again. As it's a great program for getting young kids involved in STEM, But this year, we did actually send a few of our lead members to volunteer at the First LEGO League State Championships at WPI.
Now, after preseason comes kickoff, where the first organization releases a live stream where they go over what game we'll be competing in, and at that point, our team gets together to brainstorm ideas for how we'll compete in this. After that, we then have 6 weeks to build a fully functioning robot ready for competition.
We start the build season with design discussions among the whole team, where we make sure that everyone's voice is heard when making choices about what we want our robot to do, where we'll set goals and then figure out how we want to try to achieve them. After that, we'll begin the building phase where we'll prototype, then do some testing, redesign, and go back to doing some more building.
Yep, as was just mentioned, whenever we have a prototype, we then go immediately to testing, where we find every kink in our robot and work it out, as well as make our human controls as best as humanly possible so that we have a smooth time during competitions. This entire process is very iterative, though, because after prototyping, we then have to go back to design in order to redesign what parts of the robot we want to improve, at which point we then go to building, back to testing, and we repeat this process for all 6 weeks until we eventually get to the competitions. Now, this year we competed in 2 competitions, one at our very own RMHS and one at another high school. And each competition features very fast-paced gameplay, where every round lasts for only 2 minutes and 30 seconds. However, the time in between rounds is equally as important to our team, since that's when we need to make quick repairs as well as adjust anything that we think could be improved upon. This puts a lot of pressure on our team, but it doesn't stop our team from cheering as loudly as they possibly can in the bleachers.
This fast-paced environment it creates a very exciting feeling for everyone there. It's a very loud and exciting event. We had 40 teams in our field house this March, and some of you might have come to visit. It's completely open to the public, and we'd love to see as many of you as possible there next year.
After our competitions are all wrapped up, we then like to wrap our own team's projects up while also starting some new ones in the postseason.
Immediately after we finish our competition season, we begin our postseason with an after-action review, which this year one of our mentors ran in the form of a Scrum retrospective. We use this to look back on our season and reflect on what we did well and what we could have done better so that we can improve for next year. We also spend a lot of our postseason on projects, such as this year we built a swerve drivetrain, which uses technology that we haven't had access to in the past and can give us a competitive advantage next competition season.
In addition to this, we also like to use our postseason to plan out next year as well as the summer. That's right, our team never fully stops even during vacations because we continue to plan as well as just make future projects.
So our leads still meet over the summer to make sure that we have a good plan for the preseason and that everyone will have something to do once we start meeting full-time again. And there's a plan to effectively teach new members. And something that's specific to this year is that we're hoping to move into the new shop this summer. It's just down the hall from where we currently are, but it's a bit bigger, so we'll have more space. And we're hoping to move in there as soon as the records are finished being cleared out.
Oh, can you go back a slide just real quick? And in addition to planning out our new shop every single year, we also host Grant Camp. This is the time where we get new and old members alike to come together to learn the process of applying for grants while actually applying for real ones in the process. It's a great learning experience. It teaches professional writing skills, and we have a great time overall bringing in waters, sodas, you name it. Beyond the robotics. Now, after our seniors graduate, they go on to pursue various STEM pathways, eventually leading them to a STEM-related career. The majority of our seniors have done this, and we have past members who are working in NASA, Rivian, thank you, and SpaceX, just to name a few. There's more that can be listed here, but again, too many to put on one slide.
We also have a lot of alumni that will gain experience through their education and in industry, and then come back to our team and help mentor us and share that experience they've gained with us. So one example of that is this year we had one of our mentors was a previous member of the team who's going to be pursuing a PhD in robotics at Northwestern this year. And we also have lots of past team members come back just briefly to visit the team at kickoff or to volunteer at our home event.
Now, I'd like to take just a moment to thank all of you for your continued support of our team. It's been an absolutely fantastic time, and we hope to continue this team in the future. But without further ado, let's move on to the moment you've all been waiting for, the robot demo. I'd like to welcome up our graduating mechanical lead, Brendan Manning, to the stage to explain to you exactly how our robot works.
So in this year's game, Charged Up, 3 robot alliances compete head-to-head to score points by placing cones and cubes at various heights and distances. Each match features fast-paced gameplay, so our team had numerous high-speed collisions with other teams, which resulted in many repairs to maintain our robot's functionality. At the end of the match, each alliance balances with their partners on a tilting platform. To best perform these tasks, our robot, Perry, features a fantastic double-jointed arm, while still being the smallest robot we've ever built. That may sound like it would be easier, but it's actually more difficult, as we fit an equally complex robot into under 75% of the volume of last year's robot.
The robot will be with us in just a second.
Technical difficulty,
Yeah.
Please stand by. Is it on? Are you sure?
Cooler back there too.
So what are the major kind of fields that you focus on to build this?
Yeah, sure. So a lot of our time is spent on just the mechanical construction of the robot. So we're not creating our own motors or building computers or anything. We buy those, and then other than that, we're basically buying raw stock. A lot of the robot's aluminum, so we're spending a ton of time designing a custom system and then actually making those physical parts. Then turn it over to programming.
Yep. And then after we have the robot actually built, we then start the programming process, where we go through bug after bug after bug after bug, eventually getting a robot that fully functions. It's a great experience for everybody.
Sometimes.
That's fair.
So you talked about that the 6-week build time.
Yeah.
So do you find out at the beginning of the 6 weeks, roughly what the robot's expected to do, but you don't know the specifics of the game, the games that are going to be played or the rounds that are going to be played? How does that work?
We get, it's a roughly 70-page document on, I believe it was January 7th this year. It's the first Saturday after we get back from school, or from winter break. And in that document is kind of everything about how the game is played, but the games vary really widely year to year, so we don't actually know what we're going to be doing until that point. So for instance, this year you can see we were placing the cones and then these semi-inflatable cubes, or fully inflatable sort of cubes. But the year before, we were shooting these giant tennis balls up into a target about 8 feet off the ground, and then we were climbing up a set of monkey bars. So the games are so widely varied that we really have to start building the robot after we know what the game is.
What was the toughest, the thing that just you had to work on the most to get through with this particular challenge?
Yarn, by far.
Yeah, with this particular robot, the arm was possibly the most, not possibly, it was the most difficult and time-consuming process. We've built drivetrains in the past that move around in every direction, but we've never built a double-jointed arm before, which we do talk about a bit later on, but I'll briefly go over it. So during the process of building this arm, we have a lot of mechanical things that we need to improve upon. We have motors that we need to figure out how to actually use, something called encoders, which just check how much something is rotated, which we have to figure out how to actually read information from those in order to translate that into something that the motors themselves can use to rotate the arm. It was a very difficult process, but I think we did a really good job, and I'm pretty sure there's a video in this slideshow presentation. Yeah, sure, why not? Let's just go through a couple of slides until we get to that video. One more slide after this that shows off our arm in action in all of its glory, right there. It's able to fully extend, what was it, 60 feet, 40 feet?
Inches.
Oh.
But
40 feet, a very long distance.
Yes.
Okay, so let's just take it back one slide, and we're just going to continue through the presentation.
yeah, so I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to talk about some of the mechanical construction of this arm. So it's made of aluminum rectangular tubing, and we designed, fabricated, and assembled it right here at RMHS using the tools we have. And every significant part of the robot, or of the arm, was custom made for it. We even designed and built custom gearboxes, you can see right there, for the lower joint of the arm. Sorry, I have an instinctual reaction to robots turning on behind me. So to work on these gearboxes, we kind of started with, we have a target gear ratio we're aiming at to be able to have enough force to move the arm around. And then we went through our supply of gears and we found ones that would allow us to get to an appropriate ratio. And once that design was created, we cut the parts and we actually put the arm together. And surprisingly, doing all of that was actually the easy part of this arm. We then had to turn it over to the programmers who completely knocked it out of the park.
Yeah, so this year, the code that we wrote was by far the most complex code in our entire team's history. And up there, if you go one more slide over, you can see the arm's full capabilities, and that was extremely difficult to program. To control the arm itself, we used methods from advanced control theory, implementing linear algebra and physics to calculate how to determine what controls we actually need to give to our motors in order to get to where we want to go. We also applied inverse and forward kinematics to create this control system of where we want our arm to go, similar to that of the industry standard, in order to give our human operators much easier control over the arm, since that's infinitely easier than controlling each motor separately and trying to figure out mentally, is this arm going to score a point or go all the way over backwards? But luckily we didn't have that happen. With the assistance of our various mentors, we were also able to understand and implement concepts far beyond the high school level and control the arm just as professional robotics companies themselves do in the industry.
So you're learning math that goes beyond what we're even teaching at the high school.
Oh yeah, we're learning math that our alumni and mentors have actually confirmed they weren't even taught in college. Yeah. So if we go one more slide over, we then get to the autonomous period. Now this is the 15th,
Perfect.
beautiful.
We didn't want that anyway.
Yeah, that's throw up, people.
Uh-oh. He's coming for you, Susan.
So yeah, roughly nothing with robotics ever goes exactly to plan.
Okay, so the autonomous period. Every match starts out with 15 seconds where our robot has to function entirely on its own with no human control. In order to place a game piece during this time, we had to pre-program the use of a gyroscope and computer vision in order to recognize April tags, which are shown on the slide. They're very similar to QR codes, but much easier to recognize by a robot. We use these to locate ourselves on the field, score a cone on the top shelf, and balance our robot on a tilting platform, all within that 15-second period. This is your cue, good sir.
Yeah, so that was just a demonstration of autonomous code, so our driver wasn't actually touching the remote there. The robot was able to do that on its own. So we have Dr. Milchevsky up here to help us demonstrate how our intake works.
Life and limb, buddy, life and limb.
Yes.
So you can see it just picked up the cube and now it's able to go and score it wherever it wants to. So
Most important part of the robot.
we built almost 10 different intakes during our season. We started with multiple different designs, and as we compared the various types, we settled on a predecessor of the current iteration here. So while the initial geometry of this came from an FRC team in Littleton, Massachusetts, we adapted it to fit our style of manufacturing robot parts, and then we made several iterations, even building a whole new intake in the week and a half between our two competitions. And then our drivetrain, which is how the robot is moving around, is a really strong representation of how our institutional knowledge gives our team an advantage. We went from 2 numbers representing our robot's width and length to a full CAD of our drivetrain in only a couple hours of work by one person. And that was because we were able to look back at our CAD from 2022 and then just quickly adapt it to the 2023 dimensions. This also carried forward into building the drivetrain because we already knew what needed to happen and were able to get it together quickly, allowing us to focus on the unique challenges of this year. So I don't know if you can see them behind the arm, but we actually have a panel of LEDs on the robot. Are you able to turn around? So you can see the LEDs there. And these LEDs actually serve a valuable role in communicating to human operators across the field. This year we were using LEDs to indicate which game piece we wanted at the loading station. So we could have just written code that would allow us to do that, but the way we configured it, we simply have to type in a string of text and then the LEDs will display it. Thank you for your attention tonight. Does anybody have any questions?
Go ahead, Tom.
So, first of all, you guys rock. I'll just say that. Second of all, last year, this group and others helped secure some funding from the state. Can you outline what that funding was used for over the last year?
Yeah, so we were able to use that funding to really expand our manufacturing capabilities. So we actually got a piece of machinery called the manual mill. And what that allows us to do is we can just, so it's similar to a drill press, which we had, but with this we're actually able to cut complex slots and we can do it really, really precisely. Can you turn roughly 90 degrees? Or that works. So you may be able to see on the side of the arm, there's a few slots there. So we've used those at various points for chain tensioning, and we were only able to actually cut those slots because we had that tool. We were able to get a new CNC router that's generally higher quality than the one we had, as well as a laser cutter, and we're kind of using that money to really invest in the future of the team and have much higher quality tools.
Great, thank you, Brendan.
How do you control it?
An Xbox
So
controller.
we're allowed to have 2 people controlling. For this demo, we only have 1 person. And so yeah, this year we used 2 Xbox controllers. We've also built custom button boards in the past, and that's just like a board with a bunch of buttons wired together on it. And they'll use that to control the way the robot moves. So like it's a joystick for driving. And then this year we're actually really proud of the code we wrote for controlling the arm. The operator just has to press 1 button and the arm will go to a predetermined set point. So like you can see, that's our position for intaking.
I just have a comment and a question too. First, this is amazing. This is awesome, and I'm blown away by the work that you've done, especially as you talk about some of the background in computer science, math that were required to be able to put you in this position. I think is really impressive. My question would be too, so if you were to think about the high school experience, even middle school, have you ever envisioned any additional coursework during the day or any additional programming during the day that would really equip you and your classmates to be able to develop some of the prereq skills to be able to compete at a high level? And or for those of you who are interested in STEM or robotics down the line, are there any types of courseworks or offerings that you wish that we had here at the high school that we should consider?
I mean, so I would think that one possible valuable thing would be if there were some kind of shop or metalworking type classes here at the high school, because that would kind of allow students to come in with a little more understanding of what they'll be doing to work on a robot. So especially like having AP Computer Science and now the new programming courses are really great for students to be able to kind of get an understanding of at least basically how Java works, and then like they'll be able to be more productive on the team. But I think just kind of some things to help the other sub-teams. Anything you want to add?
I would completely agree with what you just said. I think maybe some classes on metalworking so that way people can really know how to build something awesome like this. But I also do agree that all the AP Computer Science and various programming classes are absolutely fantastic for getting people right into robotics as soon as they want to start joining our team.
I think your teammate has.
Maureen has something here, yeah.
I would, is this on? I don't know.
Yep.
Yeah, I would also like to add that I think with the or like the pathway type things, like the computer science pathways, I think it would also be very beneficial to add more high-level courses instead of just adding more low-level courses and prereqs that make it difficult for students to take higher-level courses. Because in the past, like there's always been 2 sections of AP Comp Sci, or there have been for a few years anyways, and I believe next year there's only going to be 1, and that's because the new prereqs have been added. It makes it harder for people to access those higher level classes, so I think that it would be important to add more challenging classes as well, because like for me, even though there are now more like programming classes, there's nothing I can take because I took AP Comp Sci as a sophomore, so adding the new classes didn't offer any benefit to like someone in my position because it's all just lower level classes than stuff I already took.
That's really good, great feedback.
Yeah.
Thank you.
If you're in this program and have like learned all the stuff to be able to compete at this level, have you also kind of like gone beyond kind of the classes that we offer?
People definitely do have the opportunity to do that on the team, I would say, but I'm not on the programming team, so I haven't learned that from the team. The only knowledge I have is from AP Comp Sci.
Yeah, but from the team itself, we also go through pretty much the entire AP Comp Sci curriculum in a couple of weeks during our preseason, just to really get people into the robot code as soon as possible. Of course, some people aren't fully sure of how to program in Java by the time our build season starts, since we only have 2 weeks to teach them everything, but they pick it up really fast, and we do definitely go beyond what our current courses offer in the high school.
Yes, please.
Can I ask everybody, can everybody from the team just come out and introduce themselves and just tell us what year you're in? You can go right to the podium, too, if you want.
Should be.
Hi, I'm Justin. Record shows that I may run like half the grants or something that fund this team or something like that. That's the record, what the record shows anyways. Oh, I forgot. I am in 10th grade, so sophomore. Yes.
I'm Maureen Manning. I'm a junior. I'm on the mechanical team, and I'm going to be the technical president next year.
I'm Gianna Gagliardi. I'm a junior right now, going to be a senior. I'm going to be the project manager next year. I'm on the mechanical team.
I'm Carissa. I'm in grade 11, and I was this year's design lead.
I'm Ria. I'm a junior, and I was on this year's mechanical team.
Hello, my name is Alex Zhang. I am currently a junior, going to be a senior next year, and I am on the mechanical lead, although I've mostly been on design.
I'm Ian. I'm a junior, and I'm on the programming team.
I'm Jonathan McCaughey, and I've been on the business team since my freshman year. I'm a sophomore now, and I'm going to be the business team lead next year. I deal with money. I've emailed a lot.
That is true. Awesome. Any other questions for the team? All right, well, thank you all very much for coming in tonight and for all the work that you do all year long. It's amazing.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Yeah.
Like literally in the middle.
All right, we're gonna take just a quick bio break, and also I think the robot probably has to retreat to its robot lair. So we will come back at 8:45. So I'm going to call us back to order. So we're just a little bit behind this evening. It was all goodness, but we're a little bit behind. So we are going to move next to an update from the RMHS Instructional Leadership Team. I don't know, Tom or Dr. Hardy, if you have any sort of intro. Did I miss something?
You want a motion?
Oh, I'm sorry. I skipped the whole section of the thing. Let's take section B out of order, if you don't mind, Carla.
I move to
Take E3 out of order.
take section B out of order.
Second. Is there a second? Seconded by Chuck.
Point of order.
Yes?
You want to take E3 out of order, not B. You're taking the
We're
instructional
taking the
leadership.
next item out of order. Okay. That's
So
a
moved.
fair point. Yep. So moved. E3. Is there a second to take E3 out of order? So seconded by Carla and Chuck. Okay. All in favor? All opposed? Okay. We'll take it out of order. So now we're going to move to the RMHS Instructional Leadership Team update. Dr. Hardy, Dr. Milczewski, I don't know if we have any preamble or if we want to just invite the
I
team.
can just really quickly share that, across our district, that one of the focus areas of the district was to implement instructional leadership teams in all of our schools. And that was, while a lot of our schools had building-based leadership teams, the task this year was to shift some of that work to be able to focus on teaching and learning, instruction. So that work, which was facilitated by Jess and Kevin, alongside all of our department heads. So we asked the RMHS Instructional Leadership Team to come tonight to speak a little bit about just some of the work that they've done collectively, and also give the chance for each of the respective department heads to share out quickly just maybe some of the things that were focus areas for the department this year, and maybe things that are on their radar for 23-24. So with that, we turn it over to Ms. Callahan.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having us. I also want to thank Dr. Hardy for her leadership this year and mentorship of me, as she was a part of our instructional leadership team meetings, which happen once a week, helped me plan, helped me process afterwards. And I want to thank the department heads that were able to come here this evening. All of them contributed to the presentation. You have a lot of information in front of you in the packet, but we're going to hit the highlights, and then obviously always answer questions. So those that were not able to be here this evening, but I do want to name them, are Science Department Head, Mr. Ray Albright, World Language, Ms. Danya Mahoney, or Dr. Danya Mahoney, sorry, Fine and Performing Arts Department Head, Dr. Mosier, our English Department Head, Mr. McSweeney, and then who is with me this evening is Assistant Principal Katie Buckley, who's also part of the team, Ms. Lynna Williams, who is the head of the Counseling Department, Ms. Allison Williams, the head of the Math and Computer Science Department and Business, and Mr. John Fiore, the head of the History and Social Sciences Department, and Ms. Stephanie Lassise, the new head of the Special Education Department. Do you have the
We
slides?
don't have it, right?
No?
We're getting it right now. Share with us.
Sorry, I have to find it. I will not be doing jazz hands.
You want me to share from the packet?
Sarah, do you want to, here. Do you have the packet up, Tom?
Yeah, I'm just trying to get down to it. Here we go.
Tom can share.
I'll share.
Tom, you got it?
Yep.
Thank you, Tom.
It's coming.
Tell me when.
Okay. So what I would like to highlight is this team did meet every single week with a very solid agenda, and our goal was to align our work at the high school as instructional leaders, and this is the first time the department heads have formally gone into classrooms and provided written feedback to teachers in the evaluative system, and that is critically important, in my opinion, for teachers to receive feedback in their content areas. And so we, as the administrative team, also went into classrooms, but they were able to provide written feedback. And then we worked collaboratively with a couple of departments each of us had to talk about the growth and progress of our our teachers in the classroom and our counselors and counseling staff as well. And so our goal was to provide that consistent feedback and make sure the feedback that we were providing to people was aligned and with one another, but also aligned with the district's strategic objectives. And I am trying to boil that down, but that was a lot of work that we did this year, and I feel that we're on a really good path moving forward to make our instruction consistent across the school. As you know, we've also been working on several programming initiatives, Innovation Career Pathways, which some of either I or some of the department heads will talk about as they come up. We've expanded the internship program this year. Almost 90 seniors participated in internship
internships, all of which were paid through either grants or because of our partners paid them and agreed to pay them as part of the internship program, which will eventually feed into the Innovation Career Pathways, but also be offered to students that aren't in the Innovation Career Pathways as well. And I am working on a short video to share with everyone, but every single student in the internship program did a final project of a paper and a presentation with a voiceover talking about their experiences, and I shared them with some of the people in this room, and they're very moving that they learned a lot of great skills, but we need to boil it down just a little bit to share out with everyone. I'm not going to go over math pathways because I know that Miss Allison Williams and Miss Heather Leonard are speaking about that in a little while. We're expanding the dual enrollment offerings at the high school. We have one course next year, but we'll have several courses moving forward that are part of the Innovation Career Pathways. The course next year, I'm not going to steal Mr. Fiore's thunder, so he can explain that when he comes up here. We worked really hard to build better relationships through the course. When eighth graders are choosing courses to come up to the high school, the department heads went down to the middle schools and met with teachers to align recommendations from teachers, which has never been done before, to my knowledge. Am I right, guys? And I think that did a lot of good as students were selecting their courses and teachers were providing those recommendations, and they moved up to the high school making better choices about the courses that they're taking. We did write a skills capital grant together, which is in 2 areas in the sciences to expand our biotech laboratory based upon critical needs in the state that were identified by Mass Hire, and also to completely redo our carpentry space that supports our fine and performing arts, our arts programs, to build sets so that would be completely remodeled if we are awarded that skills capital grant. And I'm told every day that we'll be told soon whether or not we get that $400,000 grant. I'm going to highlight a few, I don't know Mr. Wise, you have the next one? I know there's a lot of information on here that Mr. McSweeney wanted to share. I think that the English department is incredibly professional, as we all know. They do a lot to bring forward the work of students. I think one piece to highlight here is over 50 members of the senior class publish articles in the online student newspaper through work completed in the journalism elective, and just this morning I attended a breakfast for the publication called New Currency, and many of our student work was highlighted in that, and I'm sure that more copies will be coming out soon. And it's an amazing program that our students participate in, providing essays and poems and different works of art that they have created. You can go to the next slide. We have 2 slides for fine and performing arts, but I just want to compliment the fine and performing arts department. They work so many hours to bring fine and performing arts to our students, and our students are doing amazing and creative work, and that is a tribute to our staff in the fine and performing arts departments. And Dr. Mosher is working very hard to align our K-12 programming, and he's doing a great job, and we're working very hard to support him in doing that. The Innovation Career Pathways in music production is the first of its kind, from what I can see, across the Commonwealth, and that's part of the digital media pathway of graphic design and music production, but it is pretty cutting edge, for lack of a better phrase, and we're very excited to get this off the ground next year. Go to 2 slides. Our Health and Wellness Department, we're doing some work to create a pathway in the Health and Wellness Department for students that wanted to go into education or early childhood education. We're moving field seminar, which is when our students go into the elementary schools. It used to be a history course, and Mr. Fiore and Ms. Fiorello worked together to move that to the Wellness Department. We're going to couple that with the early childhood class, which also educates our students on working with young people, and many of those students participated in the internship program this year. And so our goal is to find a college that will partner with us to provide a certification or a pathway towards becoming an educator through the Wellness and Health and Wellness Department. Go to the next one. All right. You're up, Mr. Fiore. We're just going to jump in and out as we go here.
Given the hour, I'll try to be brief. We've had a lot of movement in our department over the last 2 years, piloting our version of the civics project in our second year of it. We've developed a few new courses, race culture in the classroom we offered this year. That was a very, felt it got off the ground with it was a very strong success with the students, and the student feedback Mr. Curtis Martin and myself got, we co-taught it, was very positive. We're also next year going to pilot Women in History, 2 semesters of that. The enrollment for that as an elective was enough to fill a section in the first semester and second semester, so we're excited about that. And we will have the first dual enrollment class in our department, Ethics and Society. So we're excited about taking that first step in the world of dual enrollment and being a part of that. We also conducted a self-study of our required courses, History 9, 10, and 11, where we have, for well over a decade now, tried to blend the U.S. and world strands that the state has for history content to avoid redundancy and pick up on broader themes around the world. So we just kind of took it upon ourselves this year to take a look at where we're at, what we might need to change, and have some recommendations for each other and, you know, for school administration and things like that moving forward. We're updating the AP Euro curriculum and with some new textbooks for next year that are in the editions that the kids are being tested on now. And then, you know, very fortunate, proud, and lucky to work with some people that are lifelong learners and engage in all aspects of this high school and our campus life, and continue to push themselves to, whether it be, you know, taking extra courses at St. Johnsbury for the AP curriculum, going to the METCO conference. You know, we have Mrs. Allison is a provider and a curriculum developer for Primary Source in Watertown. She also teaches a course there online. And we have a lot of class advisors, as you can see, several varsity coaches in multiple sports. We have organizers of international and national and trips within our own borders. So we're very proud of some of the work we were able to accomplish this year, and look forward to sharpening it up in the future. Thank you.
All right. You're going to hear a lot more about math, so I'm going to focus on the computer science and business part right now. 2 things that I'd like to highlight are that we were awarded the Innovation Career Pathway designation from DESE, specifically in Information Pathway in computer science. I think the kids did a great segue for me. You saw what they're doing, you heard their own thoughts. We know that we have a student body or a population of students in Reading who are really interested in building a robot or doing those high-level computer science things that the rest of us are just wowed by. And I think that, to Maureen's point, we want to make sure that we continue to engage kids throughout their career here. And as the innovation pathway builds, we will add in additional higher level options, I think was the word she used, for kids who are later in the pathway. But we also want to make sure that, you know, thinking of our younger kids, that maybe they don't know what they want to do when they get older, or even when they get to high school, if we can offer them courses at the beginning of their high school career that are going to enable them to get their feet wet, so to speak, and fall in love with robotics or fall in love with computer science, I think that benefits us all. So we're trying to, I guess, kind of work at both levels of our student body to make sure that we have this great option for kids based on something that we know they like and something that we think our faculty has strength in as well. And I think one of the things that came along with that is developing a partnership with TEALS, which is part of Microsoft. And what happens there is we have some volunteers who will be coming in and volunteering in our computer science classes to work alongside the teachers, to talk with the kids, keep them fresh and give them like interesting aspects of modern computer science. It's a little past my prime at this point in computer science, but I think we've really done a lot this year to build those opportunities for students and take advantage of not only opportunities, but also money available to us to be able to do that. Thank you.
So Mr. Albright could not be here this evening, but I would be remiss if we did not talk about the fact that we also developed innovation career pathway within the science department through engineering. And Maureen already has my mind turning about how I can do that in 1 year. The other advanced courses in these pathways are dual enrollment classes that I am about a year away of implementing at the high school. As I mentioned, I wrote the skills capital grant that should bring about $200,000 of laboratory equipment to upgrade our lab spaces, specifically to target around students going into the biotech industry after high school. And there are several new classes that have been added both in and outside of the innovation pathways within the science department. Next year, they're going to be engaging alongside the world language department in a curriculum review process as well. Oh, you're up, Steph.
Good evening, everyone. I'm just going to highlight some of the amazing work the special ed department has done this year. So first, we had an addition of a special ed department head. We also started this year we piloted a new executive functioning curriculum. Students also participated in a range of transition-related activities. So students did pre-employment seminars with Triangle. They went on field trips. They participated in real life experiences. We also took part in the unified basketball team with other Middlesex Conference schools. We reestablished Best Buddies, and students went on community outings. Paraprofessionals also participated in year-long professional development. That was self-paced training sessions, both in person and online training as well. Thank you.
Hi there. You've heard me speak earlier in the year, but I just wanted to highlight a few recent things that have happened for our department. And so the first one I want to talk about is myself, along with 2 other counselors, went with Jess Callanan to the MyCap training, which is put on through DESE, and it's focused on careers. And one of the exciting things, we went for a few days, and through the trainings, it was really exciting to be with other districts to see what they're doing. But one of the things that came out of it is that our school was highlighted, specifically our department, for the work that we're doing with students on our developmental guidance model. And so they asked us to present at another conference to over 125 educators, just sharing our model. And then through that, what was exciting is that I've had principals and other counselors contact me just to get more information about how we're able to do the things that we're doing. And then moving forward to next year, we're going to continue this work, and through our PD, we're focusing on work-based learning for our students, and how can we take the work that we're doing in our department, and how can we make that throughout the entire school, so it's not just the counselors working on these things, but there's so many wonderful things that teachers are doing in their classrooms, and just having a united front for all of our students. Our goal is really to help them understand all the options that they have for careers, and then go from the learning about it to exploring and participating in internships and things like that. In addition, we just finished our second year of the Project Wayfinder curriculum, which was really fun. For us, the second year was definitely much better than the first year, as we learned how to be teachers. We added an adjustment counselor, which has really helped us increase our social emotional supports for the students, and just allowed us just to do more work with the students than we've been able to in the past. We partnered with Bright to do a complete program review of stepping stones. And then recently, this isn't necessarily specifically a guidance initiative, but another counselor and myself partnered with Katie Buckley, and we are revamping the Rocket Ambassador program, which is really exciting for us because we're making it a peer-to-peer mentor program where students are going to be trained, and they're going to work with our incoming freshman class. So we have juniors and seniors who have been accepted into this program, and they're going to be working with students in their flex blocks, and not only the freshmen, but also any new students who are coming into school, so they can adjust and feel like they're connected to people and not just the adults in the building. So we're excited about for the work that we're doing. Thanks.
Me again, sorry. So a few things I want to highlight for Dr. Mahoney is that we are moving forward with the Seal of Biliteracy. We have 12 students, graduating seniors, that were awarded the seal this year. We already have 8 students in the next year's class that have earned the Seal of Biliteracy. And Mr. Derek Ryan, who is one of our teachers in the World Language Department, is the director of that, or overseeing that programming. He's doing an amazing job. It is a lot of work and undertaking to make that all happen. Students can test in any language that they want. So you sometimes have a student you didn't even know spoke Chinese, and they come and want to test and be proficient in that language. And so it takes a lot of knowledge and ability to kind of figure things out as you go, so that students can earn these distinctions. There were the addition of the World Language Honor Societies in all 3 languages that we offer at the high school. And let's see, the World Language Department will also be starting, as I mentioned, a curriculum review process, which is potentially a year-long process, but to look at the curriculum that we're using. And in the World Language Department, it is proficiency-based, but that is something that we want to continue to move forward so that students can actually take a language that they're learning in high school and use it in the future. One more slide. So these lovely people to my left spent the entire day with me today in an ILT retreat where we planned out all of our professional development and professional learning and operations and logistics for the school in departments for all of next year. And our intention is to share a draft plan of that with our teachers before we leave at the end of next week. That is new. We're very excited to do that. Our department leaders are stepping up as not only managers of their departments, but instructional leaders within their departments in that content expertise, as well as being those that are provided targeted professional learning to their teachers and counselors in specific content. And then we will also have some school-wide initiatives that teachers and staff can participate in as well. I think we've done a lot of work this year. I'm really proud of it. I'm really happy to be working and honored to be working with the department heads at the high school as well as the district team. We really thank you for your support, and we'll take any questions if you have any.
I have one. So you talked about the instructional walks, and I know, I think part of the point of that is sort of one-on-one feedback and one-on-one observation, that sort of thing. Are you also finding themes or trends that are informing that learning calendar and sort of how you think about, what the faculty as a group, maybe needs?
Yes, and so just to clarify, the learning walks actually are non-evaluative. We do not do any written feedback except for ourselves. There's no names attached to it, and we're specifically looking for themes. When we go into the classroom, we centered it around rigorous instruction in the classroom that would inspire a sense of belonging. And Katie Buckley actually did a lot of work around that with her program at Lynch Leadership Academy that she's been engaged in this year, that the district helped her or sponsored her to participate in. And so the whole intention of our work was to identify areas of improvement or if there were thematic things that we saw going into classrooms. We went in small groups, not necessarily people of the same content area. It was mixed, and then we gathered that feedback, and then we're working with the district team where we received, we did a lot of work with Salem State this year, and so we're taking the pieces of what we identified with the Salem State team and the district leadership team that are parts of or what we identified as rigorous instruction tools. It's hard, it's a little difficult to explain. And then applying those to what we saw in the classroom. And so we'll carry that theme forward, and we're actually going to have one of our school-wide initiatives for next year for professional development will be around smaller groups going into classrooms each month looking for those pieces that were identified by the Salem State team and our learning walks in the beginning of the school year. Another goal of that was also for us to get on the same page. What do we value and think is strong instruction, so that our team could have a norm to start from when we were writing feedback, because that was new for the department heads. Yes, Jada?
I'm sorry, I have 3 questions.
3, okay.
For the French trip, are there comparable trips for the Spanish and Latin language departments? Or?
I'm going to have to get back to you on that one. I haven't learned that yet, but I will, definitely. Yes.
There was a Spanish trip this year.
They did do a trip. I just wasn't sure if it was just the exchange program and not just a trip all by itself.
Okay.
Nothing for Latin.
For Mr. Fiore, for the AP Euro curriculum revamp, was that kind of inspired by kind of looking at where we are? Or
of the textbook that
Okay.
was out of compliance, and we're getting the latest edition.
All right. And for the dual enrollment, are we continuing the two classes that existed this year, the international studies and I think it was child education?
It was international studies and human services. Those are through Endicott. At the moment, I asked Endicott if we could just put that on pause while I work forward with a relationship with Middlesex Community College for the class we have established, but I'm leaning forward with UMass Lowell. They're really expanding into dual enrollment programs with high schools, and I think that it will work well for us. And then we'll circle back to Endicott and potentially Merrimack. Merrimack has one of our industry partners who is a music teacher, also is an adjunct professor at Merrimack and Berkeley, and so that's a potential for our dual enrollment courses in one of those. He recommends Merrimack because it's closer, but we'll see how that turns out.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So since you're talking about dual enrollment, I recall multiple being in the course catalog, but you mentioned there's only one happening next year. What happened with the other?
So I included all of the dual enrollment classes in the program of studies because we wanted to show what dual enrollment classes would be offered in the innovation career pathways, but there's an asterisk on the bottom of each of those that said this will be offered in 2024-25. And so we were hoping for one or two more with Middlesex Community College. They're kind of scaling back some of their dual enrollment programs, and so that did not work out. And I think UMass Lowell, Dr. Melchewski pointed me in that direction. I went up for a presentation there, and they're very much expanding their dual enrollment offerings with high schools.
Can I share something too? So I asked that same question too. So it's like, so if I understand it correctly too, is that there's a pathway that's starting. So we know that as part of the pathway, the students are going to have that course possibly in their junior year. But we don't have kids in that pathway yet. So we don't have to offer the course next year, but we know that it's going to have to be in the years after that for the kids to go through the pathway. So it gives us a year or two to build that course in there. And I think Jess said it was important to have it in the program of study so people know that's going to be there, that's part of the pathway. But it is a little bit misleading because next year, that course isn't there yet, so.
Yeah, I tried to put kind of flyers all around the program of studies to explain that, but I do understand that that wasn't, I should have chosen a different color or something like that. Yeah.
I was just curious. Can I ask a follow-up?
Sure.
to that? So you might not know the answer to this because it's in the future, but if there are students who want to take a dual enrollment, but they're not on an innovation pathway, will they be able to, or are they going to be second priority to students in the innovation pathway?
So no one will be turned away from courses as long as we have enough staffing to teach them, if that makes sense. Obviously, all the time we have to make decisions. Some classes we get over enrollment every single year, and we just don't have in any high school, the capacity to offer all those sections. If students are in the pathway, we will make sure that they get the course, but it will be open to other students. I think it's a great opportunity for all students, if it's the right fit, and so we want to make sure that that happens. And the way that the pathways are written, all of them are either courses that already existed that will continue to be courses that are offered to all students, and as well as students that are part of the pathways. So it's already kind of cross-pollination happening in the computer science classes and the graphic design classes and the music production classes.
Great.
Quick question for world languages, the ILT group, does that include middle school language teachers as well?
Our high school instructional, so the instructional leadership team that I'm representing only is the high school. Dr. Mahoney has done work with the middle school world language teachers, but from my understanding, she and most of the department heads are only oversee 9 through 12, with the exception of health and wellness and fine and performing arts. And so I think they're trying hard to build those relationships, especially around transition, but they don't have formal responsibility over those teachers. I could be wrong, though.
You're correct.
Can I add on to that a little? You explained it perfectly, Jess. Where the overlap is happening right now is, as we started our curriculum review process for world language, we kicked that off this spring. That team is headed by Leah Christie, who we met this evening. She's the curriculum lead at the middle school level for world language, which starts in grade 7. Her and Dr. Mahoney have been co-leading that team, which has representation across our 3 schools that teach world language and across our languages, in order to do the work of building out our vision for world language in the Reading Public Schools, what all of our students can expect when they are, how they'll be assessed and how they'll be instructed in world language, and building sort of a unifying approach so that our kids have a consistent experience as they go, and our teachers have similar supports.
Thank you. Thank you.
That's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Last thing, I just want to ask him your first question. That was a really good question around the calibration on walkthroughs and things like that. So I think something our leadership team spent a lot of time with Salem State was when we use the word rigor, what does that mean? Yeah. So our team tried to draft a definition and say, here's sort of the criteria, the pieces of what rigorous instruction looks like. And I think our task next year as leaders is to say, okay, so principals across the district with your ILTs, when you go into classrooms, how do we make sure we're all on the same page of what this actually looks like in practice? And I think the high school team
That was so much more articulate than what I said.
The high school team is a little bit further ahead, that they've tried that, but I think we were happy to get that shared definition now, and now we really have to live that out in sort of walkthroughs and things like that as our leadership team next year.
Great. Thank you all for hanging in with us.
so much.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, and now Ms. Leonard and Ms. Williams, we're going to do an update on math pathways.
You want me to share your share?
I don't have it, it's not in the packet.
That one you have, yep. Do you, do the two of you mind just, it's probably better up here. I don't know that they can always see you at home from the podium.
Hi, Jada.
Hi, Jada.
Bye, Jada.
Get some elbow room over there.
I know, I'm really,
It really was a fun night to be able to be here. I kind of love it. Yeah, yeah. So if you can all plan those fun, exciting events anytime before, it's definitely a benefit. Thank you all. It's so nice to be here. We're really excited to actually have a chance to share out the work that's happened and to give you an awesome preview about what's coming up, about the idea of math pathways. You had a little bit of a preview with the high school sharing a bit about that work, and we're going to get a chance to dig in a little more.
yeah, so as Heather said, we are super excited to be here. And our goals for the evening are that we would like to define the work that we've done. Specifically, I think, what have we done, why have we done it, the steps that we've taken so far, and we will preview what is coming up. Sorry, I didn't do the magical signal.
Who do we magic to? Tom? Okay.
I don't, who is the magic person?
Tom.
All right.
Tom will receive the magic signals.
Dr. Milichowski.
Okay, so then on the next slide, we're going to share, so this is a working mathematics vision statement for Reading Public Schools, and this work has actually been built over the last 2 years, but really leaned in and had a chance to get feedback from all levels and departments to really considering what is our vision for the experience of students in mathematics in Reading Public Schools. So I'll read it just because I think it's pretty incredible what the staff came up with. In Reading Public Schools, students see themselves as problem solvers who continually grow as mathematicians. Our classrooms foster reasoning, collaboration, and curiosity within which students hold the ownership of the work, thinking, talking, and learning by doing, while they take risks, persevere, and communicate. Educators foster productive struggle through real-world problems that engage students of every background and ability. RPS educators know that all students can achieve in mathematics, and we use ongoing assessments and inclusive practices to support access for all to set students up to find success. So that's the vision. That's where we're going, and this is one of those big steps that will take us there. So last year, the Math Pathways conversation had really started internally. That work really looked at, like, where are we? Like, what's currently taking place in Reading Public Schools? What are our students' experiences? Where they're enrolled? What does that look like across different groups, age, demographics? We also were collecting some informal feedback. What are the experiences based? We heard from families, we heard from school committee, we heard from teachers, we heard from students, like, what has your experience been, successes and challenges and barriers? And we really started this idea of realizing that we need to take this into a more formal way, that it wasn't a single question, a single success or a single challenge, but really that it was a really complex opportunity to look at what does that mathematics pathway look like. So that was a lot of the work that set us up for our work last year.
So I think it's been a really productive year behind the scenes amongst the leadership in the district, where we have met together multiple times to identify the needs and possible outcomes of our mathematics pathways work. I think we've spent a lot of time considering research from the field, not only within our own district, but from professional organizations, local peer districts, and really examining what DESE can offer us in terms of things that they've done that are similar to the direction that we want to go. So what do we have available to us to help us guide us, do the best so that our students are able to meet that vision statement? We've collected many data points, which of course we love as math people. So that's kind of the fun part for us, honestly. We have looked at, for example, math course enrollment over cohorts and years. We've looked at college input. We plan to continue looking at those things as well as possibly expand by taking advantage of any information our alums are willing to give us. And we have developed a draft where we have come up with an introduction to our Math Pathways review, and we've created a community Math Pathways statement of purpose.
Before we move on to the next one, the thing that was interesting for me is I think when we started this conversation last year, I was like, oh, I can see what has to happen and what the problem is. And then when we started these meetings, it was like folks from the team had a real wide perspective of not only what challenges or successes there were, but what we should do about it. And I think that's really where I think we probably assumed by the end of this year we would have solutions, but what we really accomplished is having a much more in-depth understanding of both where we currently are as a district and what folks within our district and the leadership within our district are bringing to the table. And there's a wide variety of people's experiences and perspectives, which again, just added to what we already understood to be a complex problem. Some of those conversations really unearthed the fact that collaborative shared learning and those conversations were so critical for us to even get to the point of defining the what of the work.
So most recently, after we sort of grouped together as district leadership, Heather and I took some time to meet with all of the secondary math teachers. So we just, I think logistically, we split it up. We did a meeting with the Coolidge teachers, a meeting with the Parker teachers, a meeting with the RMHS teachers. It was all pretty much exactly the same, and they all got to hang out in here. I tried to stick to the script, but we wanted to give them the opportunity to kind of hear what we've been thinking, which was grossly or majorly a result of feedback that we get consistently from them, but just kind of reflect it back to them and see how we did with where we think that we ended up. So what we had them do two tasks. One involved some fun colored Post-it notes, so that was pretty exciting. And we asked them to give us some thoughts about questions that they had with the information that we provided them about our review, about the vision statement, and then also to ask them to give us some advice about how we can clarify it for a wider audience, maybe people who aren't sitting in a math classroom 180 days a year. Although those people we feel bad for because we like that. I think it's also important to consider all of the stakeholders. As Heather and I have said, this has been largely an internally focused point at this point. And certainly Heather and I, again, both talk to all of you regularly and many other parents, many other students. We know what's on people's mind, but we really want to make sure that we continue to provide all of the stakeholders in the community with the option to weigh in about what they think, especially since they are the people who maybe are dealing with the children at home. They maybe have older students who are alums. Maybe they have kids who haven't even come to the high school yet. So we're really looking to engage the stakeholders at this point. And we also asked the committee to consider specifically, now first of all, I guess I want to say we specifically said to them, we did not want them to solve a problem, which is a little hard when you're a math teacher. We just wanted to think about what is happening, like a snapshot of what's actually going on. So we asked them what aspects of what we're currently doing for kids 7 through 12 are working, are successful. Where do we think that things might be lacking for our students? And what changes do we hypothesize might need to be made? And then Heather and I sat down and we kind of summed all of that up and we made some revisions. And I feel like the feedback that, you know, I see the high school teachers on a daily basis, so they felt that they were heard, like they were kind of happy to hear about what we've been up to all this time, and I'm like racing downstairs for a meeting, like, what is she doing down there? So I think the teachers really appreciated the opportunity to have their voices heard, and it was also really helpful for me. I don't often, or as much as I would like, get to meet with the 7th and 8th grade teachers, so it was really nice to hear their perspectives and try to boil it down to and bring back to the high school things that we're all united in. Like, you know, it's easy to think, well, I don't see these people every day, so I can only base what I know about what, you know, children tell me, which is not always the best way to make, you know, get the best information. So I think it was a really valuable process, and I think that we've ended at a point where we all feel good about where we're at.
So another thing that happened on the next slide in this month was I had a chance to attend DESE's STEM Leadership Network, which brings leaders within the content areas from around the state together. And I actually was asked to present at that meeting to the math department about how critical it is to build your network, which was really interesting because that has been such a big component of this, is that we are not the only ones that are wondering about this, struggling with this, finding bright spots that we want to replicate. But this conversation is actually really happening literally across the state, both within DESE and many districts. So it was, you know, reaffirming to have a chance to like be there to speak to the math leaders as somebody who like how critical it is to build your professional network. And then the next step was really something that allowed us to start to continue to build the network around this really critical topic for Reading. So it was really great to hear. DESE had actually started this work of examining math pathways back in 2018. It was something that they had partnered with the Department of Higher Education to look at what that should be, changes that need to be made, and the pandemic put a significant pause on that. So they're reinvigorating it. It's called the Launch Years Initiative, and they're partnering with the Dana Center, and they're really engaging around the state, digging into this work. So we are beautifully timed to ask these questions because it's happening, and they're really engaging with districts collaboratively to think what is in place, what can we do, what should other districts be considering. So we are really, our timing is really perfect to do this work within our state and finding those peer districts to partner with and network with and collaborate with. So here's where we currently are. We're right in this place of, as Allison said, taking that feedback from those teacher teams about some of the initial things that we drafted to make revisions. We're in the work of organizing leadership to facilitate this community committee that we're going to be moving towards next year, and I'm really excited about that work, and I think the partnerships of the folks that are going to be facilitating this work are going to bring a really diverse perspective about different aspects of math learning and Reading Public Schools. And I'm also really excited for the interim STEM curriculum coordinator, Marion Lynn, who's incredible and has a beautiful perspective as somebody who's worked in a complementary content area in the high school to be a partner in this work as well. And so I'm so thrilled that she'll be taking that baton in partnership with this team as well. We've started to name and connect folks together to build that internal district. That includes folks inside, but also includes peer partner districts, DESE representatives and content leads, and some experts from the field that are currently doing this research live right now, which is really thrilling. We're here tonight to share with you and the broader community about where we are and what's coming up next.
So we've drafted a statement about our math pathways review, and I think I'd like to just read it through with you. I'm going to read it from the paper because it's a little hard for me to see up there. But it says, as Reading Public Schools strives to meet our vision for mathematics, we have identified areas of strength and challenges in our systems. RPS leaders analyze data and feedback from students, staff, and the community to identify areas for examination. Identified components to examine include the impact of middle school course placements in determining the future ceilings of students with advanced math courses, advanced math course enrollment that does not reflect school demographics, limited options for advanced math course choices, lack of flexible opportunities for accessing various math courses, and lack of interest-based options for students in the latter years of high school. We have committed to revisiting these system components and collaborating with stakeholders to develop a path forward.
And I think, again, the piece about this that's really important is that a lot of folks might identify a singular problem, or they might identify something that is or is not on this list. And that's why it's really important is the more we went through this process, we realized that like the understanding and getting our arms around really what is it that we're talking about is really broad. And so that's a big piece here is that it's more than a single challenge that the work is going to attempt to address. So what's coming next is taking this work out of that internal work and moving it public and taking this towards what next, right? Now we've done this thoughtful examination. We've really made sure that we have a good understanding of where we currently are, and now is that next step. And this big piece will be something that will take place starting this next school year in the building of a community math pathways committee. And the emphasis is on that word community because it's not something that's just district leader or content leaders. It's not just content leaders, but certainly inclusive of. It includes teachers across levels and different positions. It includes families. It includes students. It includes others that would be engaging in this work. So the idea that this is really a group that is going to be a diverse group of all of the stakeholders impacted by mathematics in Reading Public Schools to take on this work. So the goal here is that the committee is going to engage in a deep study of the math pathways in secondary, middle school, and high school. The work will include looking at research, looking at national, state, and our local Reading data, collaborating with peer districts, higher education partners, including work that the guidance department has already started with engaging with colleges that our students attend to ask for their feedback and input. Consideration of the work that's happening at DESE, both with alignment of recommendations in their current research. And the goal of this committee is to take that deep examination to summarize key findings and make recommendations to RPS district leadership in order to make sure that all of our students have access to successful math pathways that really set them up for their college and career opportunities in the future. What you will not see here is that this committee will do X, because those outcomes are really going to be driven by this committee doing this deep study from those different perspectives and understanding what those options were and what that then means for Reading in order to make those recommendations. So Allison and I, while we might each come up with a solution, I think we really realize that this problem is far more complex than a simple solution that either one of us could address. And given our roles, what we might see as a solution might be a direct opposition to somebody else's perspective about what that need and that priority problem is. So that's why we really think the work of this committee is the group to make those recommendations, because we really need to make sure that the voices and those affected and impacted and currently in this work are part of that solution identification and the recommendations for next steps.
So
as we rapidly approach the end of the school year, I can say that I am really excited with where we're leaving off. I feel like I can relax a little bit this summer. As a person who still carries a teaching load, that also means that I get kind of a traditional summer vacation. And I'm really excited to kind of reflect on what we've done and think about how we're going to hit the ground running when we come back at the end of August. So I think the first steps that we're looking to take are to communicate to the broader community. We want to select some committee members across the wide range of stakeholders that we've mentioned, and really create a timeline that considers all aspects of what is involved in running a school district. So, for example, the budget season, everybody's favorite. And also, I think planning, if we move in a direction where we want to make updates to the courses that we're actually offering, we need to do that in time to publish a program of studies in January, let's say. So it almost feels like maybe it will be front-loaded a little bit, because I think that some people think, the year just plans itself, or maybe we just plan the whole next year over the summer, which is horrifying to me. But I feel like being in a leadership position, like I kind of turn the page over to the next school year, really like once Thanksgiving is over. So just making sure that everybody kind of understands a sense of urgency, not only on behalf of our students, to make sure that we are giving them the opportunity to meet that vision we've set for them, but also logistically left ourselves space to make that happen.
So we warmly invite any questions that you have.
Go ahead, Aaron. Oh, sorry. I'm gonna start with Carla this time. I'll start on this end.
Okay. How do people apply to be on the committee?
Great question. That detail, I don't know if you have.
Yeah, I don't know necessarily that it will be an application process. I think for us, we want to make sure that there is a variety of representation. So I think that, I certainly would work with Tom and Sarah and Mary and Lynn to figure out how we best think that people would want to volunteer to be on the committee. But I think it depends on how people are interested. We certainly don't want to turn away any input. So if we find that lots of people are wanting to have their voice represented, maybe we in addition to selecting committee members, we do some surveying of different community stakeholders. So I guess that's to be determined.
And I think it's likely that there'll be a lot of work with Dr. Milichowski in making sure that all members of the community are aware of what's happening and have the opportunity to engage and what that commitment would look like. So using this sort of district-wide communication methods, because it's easy to think about our current students in the secondary pathway, but we have incoming students or parents whose kids have maybe already gone through it. We have special educators who are supporting students who are within it. We have alumni who have graduated who might have interest in sharing. So, making sure that opportunity is communicated really broadly and gathering folks' interest level. And then I think the formation might be, are there some places we might have to ask to make sure that we have individuals represented, and whereas there might be some others that there might need to be that. But that would be something worked out, I think, based on the interest that's expressed and the time commitment that's been outlined.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Aaron.
I have a few questions. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So just so I'm clear on the group, it will include parents?
Yes.
And potentially if there are community members who are no longer RPS parents?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm thrilled. This work is not a surprise to either one of you. I'm thrilled this work is happening. It's necessary. So when you're talking about timeline, is the hope that significant changes would be implemented in the following year?
I might shy away from the word significant, because that just is a little bit scary to me overall. I think that we are looking to make changes. I guess it depends on what you mean by are we going to throw out literally every class that we've ever offered and offer completely new classes? No, I don't think that that's going to happen. But I think that we're empowered to say, we think that we need to make a modification based on how students kind of get onto a pathway and work a little bit more closely as a vertical 7 through 12 team to do that. I think that we have some room for offering students a broader variety of advanced courses later on that are more driven by what we know kids are interested in. So for example, we have a vast number of students who want to major in the humanities. Could we offer something like a statistics for humanities course, things like that? So I think that we are empowered to make decisions about new courses. But again, I think it's just me being myself, balking at the word significant.
So, and I'm like, yeah, break the system, rebuild, right? So I think a bit of it's going to be like, who's on the team? And that's why, like, the benefit of having a diverse team, right, is that you're going to get a lot of input and perspectives. I suspect you're going to have staged shifts, some that could happen within the next year work that's happening, some that might be planned for the following, and some that might be a multi-year implementation. Because I think the potential here is not only to address challenges we see internally, but also really create, and Desi's using the term of a modern math pathway. There's changes that are happening in the field. I mean, the students tonight told you, frankly, and they're who we serve. We need to hear them, and what does that look like? The partnership with innovation pathways. So there are things that are coming that this work partners and complements beautifully. So I suspect there'll be almost short-term immediate, probably following year, and then multi-year recommendations that come from this to district leadership that will have impact on things like potentially budget, on course offerings, on staffing, on training. So I think the beauty is that it's all possible. I don't think anyone's looking to be like, you know, throw out everything, because I think that's a big critical piece, is like, how do we make sure that the things that are working well are preserved and integrated in? But that's that work that committee group's really going to have to get down to the point of really naming and being really explicit about what that looks like. So I think you'll end up having perspectives on that team that have, you know, keep it all exactly as it is, break the whole system, and everything in between. And that dialogue is what's going to really make sure that when that recommendation comes, you've had a chance to really have people take their own personal perspectives, and also what does the field research say, what is our data telling us to move forward with consensus on that.
I just want to add on that too. I think the team's done a good job identifying, these are 5 things that are not working right now. That these are things, and these are big things for our students that we just can't sit on. Once we've identified and built shared understanding across our district, these are problems. So I think whatever, you know, how we develop this over the years to come, we'll figure out with the committee. But I mean, these are real problems that the community has highlighted for a long time. So I think that there's, for us to wait, you know, a long time to address them, I think wouldn't be fair to our students. So I think that there's an urgency behind doing all this, and I think we all share in that. And I think in terms of timeline too, I love the phrase front-loading it. I see it as a front-loaded work, right? We get into budget season, we get into court selection, we talk, you know, September, October, November, we have to have we may not have the next, you know, couple of years all mapped up, but we have to know what's coming during that time of year too. So,
sorry, just one more. So you've talked a lot about looking at different data points. I'm not looking for an answer to this.
Okay.
I'm just so commentary of, are you looking at rising 8th grade students who were not placed into 7-8 math, but then spent their summer studying so that they could place into algebra in 8th grade? Are you looking at students who were placed into 7-8 math, but eventually, for lack of a better term, drop down, fall off the track in high school? What kind of numbers you're seeing, and where they fall off in high school, and are there patterns there? Students, you know, number of students who did not place into 7-8 math, took 8th grade math, but then later had to double up, had to take another course. Like, how many, you know, are we potentially not supporting at the right point for their level of need? And then I would be curious, you know, how many students could potentially be taking algebra in 7th grade, calculus in 11th grade, maybe even we have 10th graders who would be ready for calculus, I don't know. But Are you looking at those kind of numbers in terms of the global, like, how are we challenging all students where they're at and offering the most opportunity?
That's a good question. Yeah, I would not speak to the projections of where a student should be, because I think there's probably philosophical and developmental conversations about that. But thinking about like where our students are, what they're enrolled in, what their path was, that's actually the work that we've been doing over the last 2 years. So we've actually curated, by the end of this year, we will have 5 graduating classes of projections of their enrollment in 7th grade math up through senior year, and we can literally track where did you start, where did you go, where did you double up, where did you shift. That can also be sorted by all demographic groups as well. So we can look at trends of both that trajectory over the course of those years, as well as are all students having equitable or similar type experiences or not. So actually that's been a big part of this work, is like to really understand the problem. We have to know what's really happening with our students. And so, shout out to the work that's been happening with the guidance department as well, that they've worked out also to help us curate information, that we were proactive this year in getting feedback from colleges, like what is your minimum requirement? And they added that interview in. And so we've done a lot of work over this last year actually gathering data. So when this team meets, it's not like, oh, we should get this. Like, we're gonna be primed and ready to dig in using some of these critical components of information to inform the team's work. So, yeah.
Great.
Sarah.
Thank you. So one of the things that I think I see is missing from this slide, that I do think is a significant impediment to accessing different course levels, is the knowledge gaps that we have in our student body for different reasons, whether just different types of instruction across both middle schools, gaps in knowledge, but then you add in COVID for these kids, and there are significant gaps in very core pieces of math education that I think we need to be looking at as part of how do we get those kids to where they need to be able to access higher level math in high school and open up opportunities at the college level. So I think that's one piece that I'd like to see discussed in the group. And then again, I would just urge, this is urgent. It's really urgent. So I would also encourage the committee to continuous improvement, rapid iterations. What are we learning? How are we applying it moving forward, and not waiting 6 and 9 months before we make a recommendation to implement in a year or 2.
Thanks.
Carla.
So I can say that my family personally has been dealing with this for 10 years. And I can tell you so many different iterations and so many different options, as Erin was saying. When can you go here? What, can you take this over the summer? What happens if you didn't get into this in 7th grade? Part of me says, don't look at past data. Part of me says, have consistent and constant entry points at every level. Forget about what happened in the past. Just how can all of a sudden this kid is ready, how do they accelerate? And how can you do that? And how can you build the schedule around that? End of story. Like, I wouldn't even look back, I would look forward and say, how can we consistently do that?
Yep. Go ahead, Tom.
We've talked, yes, and yes. And like the word we kept using was like on-ramps. Like, how do we get kids who might be right here, right now, how do we still get them up to the highest level of math that they want to be able to get to? Entry points, on-ramps, I think.
We had that language in here, actually. The feedback was like, if you say the word on-ramp, that might not be clear. So we actually changed it. So the bullet that says lack of flexible opportunities for accessing various math courses is attempting to include the fact that at any given point, you might be ready, you might need to shift, and that there's a lack of flexibility in being able to make those adjustments, whether you need to make a downshift for a year or upshift, or not up or down, but that idea that, that it's a pretty rigid pathway for those traditional steps that is really determined early, and that's one of the core challenges. And I think the benefit of looking back is not necessarily to determine right or wrong placement, but I don't think we really understand the story of students in Reading Public Schools, their math experience is what. And I think understanding that when we're starting to then make recommendations for changes for a system that has ripple effects on other courses that might be paired in, a science course that you can't take until you have this prerequisite, or that readiness determination. What is it that triggers that? What is used? That's the work that committee is really going to have to start to explore. What are both the recommendations out there, and what has or hasn't worked in Reading? And I think you said it really well, that we have lots of families who've had a lot of experiences, and those are the experiences that need to be heard to inform the understanding of in the what next. And I think Sarah said it well. I think there's some short-term things that are likely to come up that would not require, years of analysis, that are probably likely to be a quicker response and recommendation for action that would occur too.
Can I do a follow-up?
Sure.
For me, it was, every time something shifted, the class shifted. So whatever this class was called before, it had different content, right? So in my mind, math is math, right? You know what content is needed at every step of the game. Lay it out, divide up the classes, and you have those entry points that way.
What's
Completely.
interesting actually is in Massachusetts, the standards for high school actually have 2 completely different pathways for math and how they divide it up. So it's not even that clean as a state, as almost every other course in the state. Math, actually, they literally have 2 completely different ways of dividing up and splitting it. And one of the things that was shared at the STEM Leadership Network is they did a poll, and of 12th graders in the state of Massachusetts are taking 60 different math courses. That's wild. And what are they, and what is included in them, and what goes where? I would say if it's incredibly unclear, and I think what you're talking about is that clarity and transparency and understanding is absolutely something that our students' experience would benefit from, and our teachers would certainly appreciate that absolute clarity.
And that's what gets me nervous about, what are they doing? What's this one doing? Who cares? We know the path. We pick a track and divide it up. Teach the classes that way and just have those constant entry points. I know I've oversimplified it, but in my head,
You're on the team.
I mean, if we get there, that's lovely.
in my head, that's just like break it up and get it done and forget about all the data points from there on out. We know where the kids need to get. Sorry.
Go ahead, Tom.
So, first of all, I want to thank you for taking on the work. Some of us on this committee have asked for this work to be taken on for the last 10 years, literally since 2013, when it was changed in the first place to be what it is now. So I just want to commend that we're picking up the mantle and running with it. I also want to echo Aaron, Sarah, Carla, Tom. This is so incredibly urgent. We can't keep going and having the next class and the next class and the next class and the next class not see the changes that we're all talking about. And I see the head nodding. The video doesn't show the head nodding, but I appreciate that, and I think it's great that alignment is there. I have a disagreement about certain things. I do think past data is important. I think what we haven't talked about really is elementary and middle school data. And Heather, you and I have had this conversation to a degree about IM and how I have a firm belief it's preparing our students far better than what we had with Math in Focus, like light years better. And so I would like to also ask that kind of data be available for this community committee to look at, is where were our kids entering and exiting 4th and 5th grade? Where are they entering and exiting 6th and 7th grade? And can we raise the bar of expectation appropriately that aligns with that, because we've put the right foundation in place from K through 6. Arguably K through 5, right? Doesn't have to necessarily start at 7. That's also something we should challenge ourselves with. To Aaron's point before, can they take algebra earlier? Sure. The one other thing I want to bring up, and I don't know if you all had a chance to watch our last school committee meeting. I didn't have a chance to attend because we had a choral concert or choral banquet that night, but I did have a chance to watch back. And the thing that struck me in that meeting, I'm sure those of you that attended probably had kind of a moment. One of our best and brightest students, probably in the history of our RMHS, she's not here to defend herself anymore because she left, was dissuaded from pursuing the high math courses in middle school. And I think that also is one of the undercurrents we have to rip apart, is what are the expectations we have for people. You have that listed here in the advanced math course, for demographics. It's not just demographics, it's what are the expectations of what it takes to succeed, and how are we supporting those students to succeed? Not just saying, well, you can't do it, or I think you're gonna fail, or I'm worried you're gonna fail. It's not our job to say you're worried you're fail, it's our job to say, I'm gonna do what it takes for you to succeed, and support appropriately. And I think that kind of mental mindset has to go into this kind of committee process, has to go into our teaching, our support systems, our everything. Sadly, I think I heard the same thing earlier today from another student. And we have to get past that. And instead of saying, this is little bit of editorial, but instead of saying you can't succeed, it's what do you need to succeed? And this starts with here. And it will, arguably, we should have something in a science pathway type thing too, right? And very much the same type thing. So I want to applaud you, but I also want to ask for that additional data point of the elementary math data and what are we seeing? Whether we're seeing growth appropriately in those different areas that can feed into our expectation. Yes, COVID throws a huge wrench in that, 100% to Sarah's point, but hopefully over the last 2 years, we're seeing a little bit more, especially this year in terms of growth, from them being in the courses in the classroom with the teachers appropriately. So again, thank you, and let's just broaden the expectations.
I think it's a really good point, and I think, you made the point of, the conversation starting back even as early as 2013. Well, there's been a lot that's changed in the field of mathematics. I mean, COVID is one for, bubbles of students and their experience, but also like expectations and standards on the state have even shifted. So what we would have done then would look different than what we would do now, and thinking about what happens where, when, based on those standards. There's a lot that I think the system has maintained and people have tweaked within it. So I think that's that other piece too, is sort of there's components or structures that have just sustained over time because that's the way things have been done, whether it's recommendations, accelerated pathways, what offerings there are. And I think this really gives us a chance to put all of those things on the table. I think the urgency to make sure that no student that is a Reading Public School student is limited today and next year is critical. And there's also the rush to, if we fix, but yet we don't clearly understand what the problem is and what that next step could be, is that there's also that potential of building a system that's not sustainable. So I think there's really thoughtful, intentional work that has to happen to understand the problems and making sure that this is not something that stops, because we have, teachers and new curriculum that's going to continue to have impact on student experiences as they continue to go through. We have students who were in critical grades during those COVID impacts. So what does that look like? So I don't think this is something that you're going to be like, we met this many times, this is the easy thing and it's done. I think this is going to be a process that gives us a routine way to deeply examine and make those recommendations, but I do think this is going to be something you're going to see short-term, mid-term, and long-term goals. And frankly, as we know in this work, because as Allison said, we love the data, it's what are those short-term things we're going to do? Do we know if it's meeting that, addressing that problem? How do we know, how are we monitoring those shifts to make sure that that work that's happening is truly supporting all of our students who deserve it? So I appreciate that perspective.
Yeah, I mean, two more quick things. One is I wanted to make sure, and this is maybe more for Tom and Sarah, I want to make sure that lessons learned of the past are things that we're conscious of now. And in particular, I felt like I heard from many parents, even before I was on the committee, where different things were changing. To Carla's point, they would change a class here, change a class there. It was like this continuous change that was almost, it felt rudderless. It probably wasn't rudderless, but it felt rudderless on the outside. So how are we managing that message? We need to make sure we manage the message to the point of what Heather's saying about this is the short term, this is where we're going medium, this is where we're going long. We have to show the strategy as part of the rollout of this. You're never going to get everybody to understand everything, but if you don't demonstrate it or demonstrate the thought process that goes into it, which you relatively almost always do, then we're going to lose a lot of people, and we're going to end up with a lot of people angry despite the best efforts. That's one thing. The second thing is, Heather, I just want to say thank you publicly and goodbye. We're going to miss you, but maybe we'll pull you back into the community from the outside, because you don't have to be living here to be part of the community. But the passion you've demonstrated for the subjects you've been over for a period of time, the work you've done is very much appreciated by those of us that see it. We don't even see the details on a day-to-day basis, but you bring it every time you come. To use kind of a sports theme, you bring it. So thank you very much.
Appreciate that.
All right, I won't belabor the point because I know everybody's getting sleepy. I want to just reinforce, the urgency. Like, we all get it. We've all heard it, right? So I'll maybe go one step further and say, when we're talking about the budget, if there aren't like short-term things that we can help support with one of our levers, I think we'll probably all be a little bit disappointed by that. So let's make significant at least an aspiration for the early part of next year, I think. So, okay. Anything else on this topic?
Can we make sure this gets in the packet?
We will make sure this gets in the packet. We've been pretty good about that of late, right, Olivia? Yep.
If I could just say thank you, this is probably my last time here, so just to echo Tom, it has been an absolute pleasure to serve in the Reading Public Schools, and I'm so excited about the work that's coming up, so it's a little sad to go, but I'm also so thrilled at the folks that are going to be taking this work and continuing it. So it's going to be really hard to get rid of me completely. Fully expect me to lurk and creep around, but it's been my pleasure to serve, and I appreciate the opportunity to be a Reading Rocket, so thank you all.
Thank you.
And for my part, I have Heather's number. Hopefully this will not be my last time here, and I'm also really excited. It's been really nice to put names to faces and be able to speak publicly on the record, although a little scary for the first time. So thanks so much for the time tonight, and hopefully you can enjoy some nice family time this summer with your children. We'll miss them.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, it occurs to me that we violated one of Robert's rules and forgot to take that out of order, but Robert's been dead for like 100 years, so I think we're okay. Can we just take a motion for E5, the RISE program review, and then maybe we'll return to our normal order?
Robert's asleep. I motion to move E5.
Second.
Seconded by, I'm going to give it to Aaron. Okay, all in favor? All opposed? Okay. We will move on to the RISE program review. Dr. Stice, Ms. Wright, I think. Yep.
Also, just like to acknowledge too, we have our new incoming RISE director on the call as well too. So welcome to
great.
Carrie Wilcox, who's listening in and listening all night.
Sit on that one.
Welcome to our long meetings.
They're not usually this long.
Yeah. We grossly underestimated the staff recognition, I think, so. Moving along.
All right. Well, thank you all very much, and we're super excited to have Carrie here and be part of this continuing growth. We know that everybody's seen in the packet the executive summary for RISE, so we just really want to go over quickly the why and what some of those recommendations were and how we are going forward in the work that Carrie's going to continue. And I just really wanted to start off by saying what an amazing night, albeit a little long, very inspiring to see our staff and our teachers and our students who are just amazing. And I think this work really comes into the idea of blending transparency on what we are doing and what we need to continue to work on with the urgency of making sure it happens. And so Allison's going to start with a quick review.
So I know that we've been here presenting on a couple of our program reviews already, so I'm going to be pretty quick in this overview, but just so for those of you who were not familiar, we did do several program reviews. Previously, we also reviewed the RISE program, and just the reason why we really wanted to do a deep dive into our programming to really look at what our strengths are and what our needs are at the RISE preschool. Also wanted to just highlight, this is a slide that we've used previously, but, oh no, that didn't, I'm sorry, it changed in both places, so yes, still on this one. Just linking it to where it also is, it was us wanting to really understand the strengths and areas of need of our program, but also that linking it to what our regulations are as far as program review. So this is just the requirement through the TFM on how we need to be reviewing our programs on a yearly basis. We really need to do one, either internal or external each year. We did many this year, so we went above that. But this RISE program, similar to some of our other ones, were done with an external review, and it was completed by Patrick Barberi and Sally Smith. And Sally Smith has a very strong background in early education, so we felt like they were a good fit to really look at the RISE program. Next slide. So very similar to all the other reviews that we did, it was a multi-tiered approach to looking at the program. So these next couple slides just go over some of the ways that we looked at the program. So it started with an initial review last June, where they met with several of our staff as well as our previous director. Next slide. They did a deep dive into a lot of the documentation within the program. So they looked at program descriptions, they looked at Parent communication, they looked at IEPs so they can really see what kind of services are provided to our students. They did many observations in the classroom, both in the inclusion setting as well as in our related service provider settings. They did lots of interviews, and they're just listed there as administrators, program staff, and parents, sorry. And then as a result of that, they did a comprehensive report looking at all of their recommendations in alignment with both the Massachusetts Early Education, Early Childhood Programs, as well as DESE components, and they then drafted an executive summary that was released we did a presentation to the RISE families, and then we released that executive summary just to the RISE families, and then following this presentation, we will be releasing that and posting the executive summary to our website.
Additionally, with that, we also had Patrick and Sally come and meet with the entire RISE staff to clarify any questions or things that were written in the eval, and really to share some of these accommodations with them and talk about the next steps that have really been ongoing work this year. The staff feel very connected to their community, and we also know the community is very connected to RISE. So many people say what a great experience their children have had, and it's a great kickoff to the start of their school career in Reading. And that many of our staff have really great longevity in the program. They're very passionate about their students. They really want to make sure that students are in the right environment and everybody believes that they are able to learn and grow and make progress. And they also really feel like a lot of the procedures and practices have been very helpful in creating supports for them while working with central office. Some of the recommendations that they provided, first and foremost, were around the culture, communication, and identity with the staff. Who is RISE? How do we work together? What do we do? And that has been a big focus under Dr. King's leadership this year to really start to build that in consultation with Julia Hendricks. They did a lot of team building and working this year with the staff to really try to build that up. Another recommendation was to hire an educational team chair part-time, so that there wasn't just one person functioning as team chair and director. And thanks to the school committee, we were able to add that into the budget. And that has been a very, very successful model. Someone's able to focus on the enrollment and the students and more likely be the principal, and then someone else deals with the special education pieces, which has been very successful. They talked a lot about increasing parent and staff communication. That's been another focus area this year. I know Dr. King and the staff work really hard to make their newsletters more aligned, to have more open houses, to give times. And actually, at one of our last open houses and / parent training, we actually invited all of our community providers and early childhood people to come, and they were able to join us in some of that professional development. And they also recommended transition process from RISE to kindergarten. This is a very familiar recommendation to all of you that we've seen consistently in our program reviews of making that transition smoother between grade levels. And Allison and the team chairs have been working very hard to create a documentation flow and allowing people to have meetings so that it will be a smoother process. And actually, Allison and I went over and met with the Birch staff, who said, we'd love to hear about the kids coming from community preschools. And we were able to reach out to the community preschools and say, would you fill out this form? Would you participate in these meetings? So that kindergarten teachers will know about hopefully more of their students coming in. They also talked about the application process and the screening process, which is something we've been working on and will continue to kind of formulate next year to make sure it's really as smooth and as appropriate as possible. And then they also talked about having that consistent behavioral management system in the classrooms. And that is something that RISE historically has participated in the pyramid model, and we're going to look at that again and also look at, are there other systems that may be more beneficial with some of the work we've been doing with developing a social emotional supports for all of the students and having access to somebody who may need those supports. We've also done a lot of professional development on the next one regarding the curriculum. So we've trained them in Haggerty for reading. It is amazing to watch the kids play with sounds, and the teachers really embraced it. They've also had a math training. And then we're really working with general ed and Sarah's people to make sure our screenings are aligned, and if we're finding students with weaknesses in any of those areas, that we're providing interventions right at that preschool level. And then they also recommended that we reconfigure the classrooms to have really a continuum that are going to meet the needs of all the students. Because right now, I can tell you, no one really wants an afternoon half-day class on, 2 days a week. It interrupts nap time and lots of other things, and it's hard to fill that class, and how do we make that work so we can support the students and families? So some of the work we've done, as I've mentioned, is we've already added the team chairperson to support that work. I've mentioned some of the professional development. They've spent a lot of time working on their SST, or student support team, so that it's consistent and they have enough time and are able to really look at students that teachers are concerned about, and how to make sure we're providing them interventions. And if they're working, how do we document that? If they're not working, what's the next level of support? And that is something that Dr. Hardy and I are partnering on and seem to be talking about all the time, is really improving our SST process across the district. The schools are working hard on it, and we want to make sure it's consistent. I mentioned the math and literacy professional development, also the culture building professional development, and really updating our schedules and our billing processes and the transition planning. We have added a bunch of new materials for RISE, including classroom libraries, with the assistance of Susan and her team, to make sure that all the classrooms have what they need and access to text, and also really making sure we are communicating to parents consistently. So with this program review, although there were a lot of recommendations and a lot of work to do, we were really thrilled that we are on it, and that we have really, with the support of everybody here and lots of other people and Dr. King's work, been able to be ahead of some of these things and make sure they're happening. The other thing that Allison and I just wanted to mention, we also have a subcommittee of our CPAC that we meet with approximately every 8 weeks to go through all of the program reviews, what our progress are, and how we are continuing to work towards those goals. And then this one will be added to that as we go forward.
One additional piece of the transition planning, which also came from the Birch kindergarten team, is they created a checklist of things that families could be working on at home over the summer for our rising kindergartners, so they can keep practicing and being all prepared for kindergarten. So we did share that with all of our rising kindergartners, as well as our community partners, to share that with our incoming kindergartners from other preschools. So just nice collaboration between all of the programs.
And that is our very quick summary, which we have done, like I said, for the staff, the parents. We've included the CPAC, they were invited. And tomorrow, we will make sure this is posted on the website so that the community can see it, and we'll continue to give regular updates as to where we are.
So I'm going to go out on a limb and say I might have more to say about this one than the rest of the folks on the team, on the committee. So my youngest is finishing her second year at Rise. And a couple things. While as a school committee member, I was aware of a lot of these challenges and a lot of these, things that were surfaced here. As a parent and for the students, I think a lot of this was relatively invisible, which I think is a credit to the staff for creating a really, a positive experience for students, despite some of the challenges that we maybe have structurally created. So I'll say that. The second thing I'll say, I'll just echo, again, sort of sitting in this seat, it's been, I don't know that everyone at home, everybody, all parents in Rise would notice this, but I've noticed some of these things picking up throughout the year. The intentionality of the communication, the intentionality of the way that the Rise program is involved in the school building and that sort of thing, which has been really positive. So I just generally agree with your sentiment that, there's a lot here, but we're on a lot of it, and we've already seen pretty good progress. And, I'm glad Carrie Wilcox is on to hear that there's, we're starting in a much better place, I think, than we were a few years ago, and I'm excited to see this continue forward. And we don't have to pay with checks anymore, which is huge. Yeah, so maybe the biggest improvement in the 2 years I've been at Rise. No, I'm kidding. It is helpful, but yeah. Others?
I just want to thank the Rise staff too. So I think that if you ever spend time in Rise, you're around some of the most caring and dedicated staff members that you're possibly going to find day in and day out, greeting kids with smiles. So I just want to thank all the staff members who go above and beyond for our kids every day. There are some really special people across all of our 3 Rise sites. So just would be remiss to not point that out about the amazing work they do every day. And I know Carla and Sarah had the chance to visit the class for the day, and you got to see that in action too. So I just thank you to all the Rise staff members out there for all the great work that they're doing.
I was in Miss Joyce's class who got the award. She was fabulous. Yeah, she was excellent.
Joyce Kammaker.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was excellent.
Okay, thank you both very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for sticking around, Allison.
Yeah. The good news is you don't have to come back on the 22nd now, so.
That's true.
Okay, why don't we just quickly return to our normal order? We'll take public comment from anybody in the audience who would like to speak to anything not on the agenda. Looking at you, Dr. Quorum. Nope. All right. Is there a motion on the consent agenda?
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Tom. Any discussion on the consent agenda? Go ahead,
One
Tom.
quick note, and Olivia, I think, has already updated it, but the packet still says that Chuck reported that EIE was ready. It's DIE that's ready, and that's what we're reviewing tonight, so we'll just get that corrected before we finalize it with the town.
Sounds good.
Go back and check the verbal. I did say D.
I know you did.
There was a letter soup in that report, in fairness, so,
Yes, exactly.
if there was a transcription thing or, a verbal fumble, either way, we're good. Okay.
Vote.
Go ahead. Did you have something else? Yep, okay. Any further discussion? Nope. All in favor? All opposed? The consent agenda carries. Let's go to reports. I will start with Dr. Stice.
I just want to highlight tomorrow, we are having our Special Olympics out on the field, starting at 9:30. I know Tara Hurley was honored tonight, and she always does such an amazing job with the Special Olympics and is really this driving force behind getting that out, and it is a marvelous thing to see. So we are very excited for that tomorrow.
Great, thank you. Dr. Hardy.
One quick item. As you know, we've been searching for a K-8 STEM coordinator to replace Heather Leonard, although I think replace is a strong word, and I think that's pretty much impossible. We really do, I was happy, Mr. Wise, you spoke complimentary to her. We owe her a debt of gratitude, really. She stepped into that role when it was a new position, and really her leadership, I think, has formed what those roles look like and set a very high bar. But I am thrilled tonight to announce to the community that we're going to fill the role in an interim manner Marion Lynn, who is a long-term staff member here at RMHS, is going to step into that role. I could not be more thrilled about this appointment. She served for many years, I think 10 years, as the science department head here, has a proven record of leadership, a strong understanding of curriculum coordination, and is just well-respected across our district. She's ready to hit the ground running, and as we move next year into a really important secondary science review, she will be key in moving that work ahead. Luckily, with bringing on our 2 K-8 math coaches next year, we do have that wealth of elementary and middle school math knowledge, so really pairing with a coordinator who has the science background is ideal for us at this point. So very excited to welcome Marion Lynn to the learning and teaching team, and believe that she will be an asset to the ongoing work and pushing us ahead to the next steps.
Thank you. Ms. Baton?
Yes, I'd like to update the school committee on the school choice lottery that took place on June 5th. This is the first of 2 school choice lotteries that will take place for the 2023-24 school year. There were 18 applications that were awarded placement. It breaks down to 4 at the elementary level, 6 at the middle school level, and 8 at the high school. Should all of those students submit their registration forms and arrive here, and we expect most will, that will generate about $82,500 in state reimbursement through the program. And just a reminder, FY23 generated $42,500.
Go ahead.
So is that on top of the existing 10 or 11 that we have, right? So we'll have 29, give or take, next year.
Chuck?
Are you able to share whether the mix between whether those are staff students or?
I didn't bring that information with me.
I'm sorry.
I did not bring that information with me.
That's all right. Yeah, I just.
And also, I don't even think that we've checked. We needed to remove the question on the application this year, why is it that you're interested in enrolling your student? And that's typically where we would hear if it was a staff member, but we'll be learning through the registration form.
Actually, just when we were out at the reception before the meeting tonight, a couple of people mentioned to me how thrilled they were, staff members, about it. So that's what sparked my interest. Yeah.
There were several applications. I do know that.
And I know we call it a lottery, but correct me if I'm wrong, we were able to accommodate everybody who applied by the deadline, correct? Right.
We
Okay.
were,
Great.
yes. The open spaces, the open seats matched the applicant's preference for grade level.
That's great. Okay, thank you. Dr. Milichewski?
Just 2 quick personnel updates. First, around the RMHS principal position. So I shared out a notice or an update, email update with the community this week. But in summary, given the resignation from Principal Tracy, was the tight timeline now between now and the start of the 23-24 school year, it made sense for us to move to an interim role. Also searching externally for an interim at this point would be really difficult, given just the pool of candidates out there. And we believe that our best options for interim was working internally. So we're thrilled to have Jess Callanan stepping as the 1-year interim principal of RMHS. We will launch the full-time search starting on the in late fall, early winter for the permanent principal position. I think I shared a lot of the sentiment I've heard from the staff for the past couple of days. We're just very fortunate to be able to add a leader of her experience and her caliber as an interim for the next year to come. So Jess will move back to her role following the upcoming year, but just a big thanks to Ms. Callanan, who I don't think this was how she saw the next step in her career going, and her willingness to jump in and support the community. I think this is what's best for the school for the next year. So thank you to her, and thank you for all those who will step up. And also just one quick note too, we will convert Jess's vacated Director of Academic Achievement role to a 1-year assistant principal role, which will enable Jess to continue some of the scope of work that she has now as the interim principal, and also continue to give the same level of administrative support to students and staff with the new AP. The other one is the Director of Finance search. Just want to update the community. So we continue to, we've posted both a full-time and an interim role. We continue to go through the interview process with our screening committee. So we've interviewed some, both permanent and interim candidates, and I hope to have an update at our next meeting on the 22nd. So thanks for the patience of everyone in the community as we work through this. We're just trying to find keep our expectations high for the right candidate amidst a difficult sort of candidate pool too. But we're confident that we will land someone really good that can move our district forward. So thanks for your patience as we work through that.
Great, thank you.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yeah, please.
The one-year AP role, how do you anticipate filling that?
Great question. So we already posted it, and we already have over 10 applicants, some internal, some external. I would say it is more likely than not it'll be an internal candidate, just given just the difficulty of bringing someone in for the 1 year. But the Jess Callanan is now leading an interview process with the team to move that forward.
But it's an interim position.
In 1 year interim, yes.
So, okay. Is that person guaranteed at, no?
No.
Okay.
I can say where we've been pushed is if this model really works, what do we do at the end of the year, right? So I say we really just have to do this as a 1 year interim at this point, so.
Okay.
You should finish the question. Are they guaranteed a full-time assistant principal role after, or are they guaranteed to return to their?
Are they guaranteed to be able to return to whatever position they came
Oh,
from?
yes. So we would.
Okay.
I was surprised by your no answer.
Me too. I was like, wait, what?
I'm not sure the RTA is going to agree with
Well,
that.
because it's a ripple effect.
I hear what you're
We move
saying.
someone up from a teaching
Yes.
position,
Great.
then we create a whole.
I see what you're
for the
saying now. So
teaching,
yes, so it will so we just have it, we have a side letter of the RTA of what happens with our internal candidates for the elementary assistant principal positions and how they have it can slide back into a similar role if they do not, sort of the AP role does not work out. It would be similar for if there was an internal staff member at the high school who slides in, they would then be guaranteed to be able to slide back.
Thank you.
Thank you for clarifying.
I was surprised by your answer, so I figured you probably heard the question differently. Okay, committee reports, we'll start with Aaron.
No report.
Chuck.
The coalition met last Wednesday. Really, it was basically a report from the director. Other than that, there was really no other agenda items. SWEC met as well. We have been given our, I think I mentioned at the last meeting, the select board they have expanded the role now. It's becoming an interesting committee, and it will be very interesting now that we heard from the Conservation Commissioner, or I think that's his title, and about what that means and how much more land we will actually come into play with. So there's a lot of competing interests, so it'll be interesting. We're meeting we're meeting again next week, and then Recreation's meeting again next. So next week will be lots of meetings again.
Sarah.
Just a quick update. The Student Services Legal Counsel Subcommittee met today. I'm meeting again on Monday to do some final round interviews.
You're trying to be shorter than me is what you're trying to do.
I was trying to take that agenda away.
June 22nd, it'll be on our agenda.
It'll be on the agenda. We'll have
Go.
a recommendation. End of story.
She took half the wind out of your sails, Tom, but go ahead. Yeah.
That's all I have, so I'm good.
Oh, great. Carla.
Update on the Killen Building Committee. The paperwork is due for the OPM, the Owner's Project Manager, selection paperwork. So for TURVA, we have to justify it to the MSBA. It is due to MSBA on Wednesday, which we're going to hit that date, and then that will allow us to be on the MSBA board meeting for July 10th. So we're on schedule.
Great.
Nothing major from the select board unless water, sewer rates, and second meters are your jam, in which case that's the place to go right now. I'll just make a quick plug. The town's Juneteenth celebration is on June 24th from 1 to 7 p.m. on the Common. It's the same day as Porch Fest. It sort of extends beyond Porch Fest. Food, games for kids, live DJ. So, did you say a live DJ? I guess it's a live DJ. It'll be a great event, so encourage everyone to attend, and if you're interested in volunteering, I know Dr. Chatterjee at the library is still looking for volunteers as well.
Friends and Family Day is this coming Saturday as well.
That's correct, yep. Okay, so with that, we'll go to the third quarter and projected year-end financial report. So Ms. Baton, I'll hand it to you. The report includes recommended transfers. I think we're going to take the vote for those on the 22nd. We'll also, on the 22nd, have a discussion and a vote on funding the stabilization fund. But I'll hand it to you to kind of give us the state of the state.
That's a great introduction. Thank you so much. There is a full detailed report included in your packet, but I'd like to highlight just a few items. items. One is that the projected end-year balance is is projected to be about $285,000, which has run fairly consistent throughout the year, between 285 and 360, I think is the highest. So, knock on wood, there've been no surprises that we haven't been able to address. We'll meet all of our obligations within the funds appropriated. Some of the areas of surplus, and you will see in the report that we're recommending a budget transfer of $740,000 from special ed out-of-district placements. Those savings were generated through the non-use of 3 unallocated tuitions, as well as 4 tuitions associated with students who we've been watching and did not need to deliver any increased out-of-district services to this year. So those students are still budgeted, but we did not spend those dollars. So that generated $721,000 of the $740,000. And there were additional other savings within the sped budget. There's also a recommendation to move funds from special ed out of district to technology, and that is to purchase enhanced cybersecurity to keep our network safe. This is a requirement of our town's insurance company, and so in order to be compliant, we need to allocate those dollars. I wanted to point out, as I've mentioned in previous quarterly reports, our intent was to maintain in the full day K account $621,000, which would be funds available to help support the pathway toward universal free full day K. And we've been able to accomplish that this year by reducing the amount of offset that we'll use. Move around.
We might need to pay electricity bill.
Get up and dance.
So I think those are the highlights of the
Boy, if that isn't there's an indication there that we should be reading.
It's like the end of the school dance. They put the lights on.
Lights off, party's over.
That's the end. The end. So just very briefly, I do look forward to coming back to meet with you on June 22nd so that you could vote that, if you'd like, the transfer of funds and to discuss how to allocate the balance of the end year. I will have one more pay period. The final pay period will have been issued when I return to you, as well as 3 more accounts payable warrants. So I'll be able to provide to you a more refined end-of-year balance. So you'll be able to make a decision with more current information.
Any questions on this for tonight? Nope. Okay. Thank you, Ms. Baton. Okay, and so we've got review and vote on recommendation to enter into contracts with the extended day enrichment programs. At this hour, I'm blanking on where community education sits. Who wants to speak to this one? Dr. Hardy.
All right. I'm happy to dive into it. Yes. So thank you. So as you may know, over the last 2 years, we've seen a really wonderful increase in parents and guardians wanting to access our extended day program. We're proud of that programming for the benefit that it offers to allow our students to transition from their classrooms into childcare after school and also before school. A complication that we've run into is that with the staffing levels that we were able to bring in, we ended up maintaining a wait list this year, which we were not thrilled with. Looking into the next school year, we had even increased enrollments, families looking to access our programming, and even with the adjustments we made last year, if you may remember, to modifying the salaries for our staff working at extended day, we still were not able to get to the staffing levels that would support an enrollment of 537 students, which is really great. So we had a wait list. We were looking at a wait list of close to 200 students going into next year. So working with Chris Nelson, he really did an amazing job thinking through an alternative way to expand our capacity so that we would be able to eliminate our wait list. And I believe that the proposal we have for you tonight will allow us to do that. So it's exciting. Not only that, I actually think it also improves the quality of our extended day programming by offering more opportunities for our students. So just sort of in a nutshell, what we're proposing is that we would partner with these various vendors. They would come in on a rotating basis to our extended day programming, and as they come in, they're able to work with our students, and that allows us to keep our student to staff ratios that we expect in the program, and allows us to bring in the students that are on our wait list. So the vendors that we've put forward here all went through a process, an RFP process. We've reviewed the proposals, and we're recommending that we move ahead with these vendors. If we do so, we will reach out immediately to our families on our wait list and welcome them into the program. The additional tuition revenue that we will gather as part of those additional families coming in will go a long way to covering the cost of these enrichments. There will be a slight amount that we would pull from what we have as a very healthy reserve right now in our extended day revolving account, and so what we're thinking of is, as we look at this program and its sustainability, we believe that we have at least 2 years of money that is in our revolving account to operate before we would have to consider whether tuition would have to be changed to reflect keeping the enrichments in place. We also know that over 2 years, we'll have the opportunity to explore a few other ways to increase revenues. For example, with some of these enrichments, we may be able to bring in students from our community that aren't in extended day for additional fees. So there are a lot of different options we can explore. But on a whole, this, I think, enriches our extended day program. It allows us to effectively meet the needs of our families by providing this really essential after-school care. And I just want to commend Chris Nelson, his work putting this together, and working with Susan and I to have this proposal for you tonight.
Go ahead, Erin.
So I'm a big fan of this, and I'm a huge fan of not having wait lists and supporting all our families. I just want to make sure I understand the structure of it. So for example, this year, SNL has been offered after school for any student and at a reduced rate for extended day kids. And then they could get picked up at 4 o'clock, or they could return to extended day. Is this only for extended day?
Yes, these programs would be incorporated on a rotating schedule across our elementary school for our extended day students. What we anticipate is that perhaps Chess Wizards, there may not be as many extended day kids coming into that program as we have spots, and then we would be able to open up to the broader community to participate.
Okay. And then the reason it works is because there's enough extended day kids that get picked up at 4 o'clock that then we have enough staffing for the kids who have to stay till 5:36?
Yeah, so actually there would be 2 enrichments per day at the program, so it would extend, I believe, a little bit later than that. It does, you're right, relate to the hour where most students are picked up and we see a drop-off. Although we did hear from Chris when we talked this through, that in the past when some of these programs were offered, we actually had kids who wanted to stay right until the end of when those enrichments were, because they didn't want to miss anything. So we feel like it will, it could extend actually some of the time kids stay.
Okay. And then just because it came up tonight, I would like to publicly put in a plug to get Lego League back in our elementary schools. I think it's a huge gap that we have not managed to bring back since COVID. It feeds our math and science Olympiad teams in the middle school. Like, I just think it's a huge as a parent, it's a huge loss of a really fabulous program. So I would love to figure out how we can get that back for our 4th and 5th graders in the district.
We did talk about that with Chris Nelson as part of this conversation. So it is definitely something that we're talking through as to how to make that happen.
Thanks.
Just two things. I'll echo sort of the creativity is fantastic, and I think kids will love these enrichments. So that part's awesome. Just on the financial piece, I see that we have, a significant revolving fund. We're in a good spot there. I would encourage us to sort of take stock in, say, October, November. If this seems like a model that's working well, I think we should think about phasing in a tuition increase and not waiting until the end of the second year to do that. If I remember from Chris's presentation before, we haven't had a tuition increase in a very long time. So I also think that the constantly rising demand for this is partially a reflection of there not being a ton of options in the community, but also partially a demand of the fact that it's a steal and we don't want to make it it's not supposed to be a profit center, right? But, it can certainly be self-funding. So let's not be too, I would argue that we shouldn't be too conservative about phasing in a tuition increase if we're, seeing rising demand, we're absorbing more costs and we're delivering more value through these enrichment programs. So, but the model makes a ton of sense to me, and I'm glad we're going to get rid of the wait list. It's great. Go ahead, Tom.
Just to build on that was my concern as well, looking at it, is that 2 years from now, this won't be sustainable, right? We won't be able to go into FY26 and not end up in a negative situation. So I would agree 100% with Sean, look at it late this year for the beginning of next, not fiscal year, calendar year, to see if you need to think about how to start raising things. Now, you've already committed, essentially have already committed to families for all of next school year for what the cost is going to be, so it's not necessarily going to be easy to do, and maybe it's more of signaling for the following year. But I don't think we can sustain this because their costs are going to go up from the enrichment perspective, and our costs, we don't have the money to support it on a go-forward basis. So, we can't come into FY26 and say, build this great program, but we can't sustain it unless we, have a huge spike. So 100% on that. The other thing I wanted to note and talk to Dr. Milczewski briefly about this today is, I think we've got a lot of great offerings in here. I love the fact that we have language in there as well from an, educational perspective. What I feel like is missing is some of the other stuff we've done this year. I don't see Mathnasium, for example, in here that we did in some areas. Mathnasium is something we did to help supplement, some students, experiences. So I'd love to see if we could add, in addition to, Lego League, some other academic-related things as well, if possible. You can't do it in the budget because the budget is what it is, and so it's not for next year. But as we think about it on a go-forward basis, and if we see one of these isn't as successful as we were hoping it would be, we have something prepared to swap into that space or something like that.
Go ahead, Chuck. Sure.
So I just have the question on the comments about the tuition. Being that these are vendors that we're bringing in, isn't a lot of that dictated by them as well versus us setting those tuition rates?
It's our tuition rate that's paying the vendors, so we can.
Right, but is it based on what their costs are, right, or what they're coming to us with?
Yeah, I think that was Tom's comment, is that, if we bring the same vendors in the following year, their rates may increase, and so, but even absent that, I think what we're looking at here is we're running about our tuition's running about 9% low to be self-funding, essentially. And for this program to be fully self-funding with the assumptions around these vendors. And I think that's what, Tom and I were both getting at is, at the end of this calendar year, we'll be ready to set rates, and signal rates and open registration for the following academic year, the following school year. And I don't think we should wait until the end of 2 years to implement some tuition increases if it's necessary to offset the cost, particularly if we're adding this much, high caliber enrichment to the program.
Agree. This is the one revolving account we've had significant issues with in the last 2 or 3 years, right?
Yeah.
So we don't want to get into that spot again. And to Sean's point, if you look at FY25, we should match revenue with expenses. We shouldn't be just dropping our numbers down. So we need to figure out how to get there, because 360 versus 178, okay, we need, that's a pretty big drop. we don't need to be 527, absolutely. But we need to find where that happy medium is.
Okay. Why don't we take a motion and then see if there's any final discussion on this?
I move to enter into contracts with extended day enrichment programs.
Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Tom. Any further discussion? Okay, seeing none, all in favor? All opposed? It's 6-0. All right, so we only have policies left. It's 10:45. I'll take the committee's pulse. Do you want to table or do we want to plow through? We could say goodnight to our friends to our right and plow through, or we can table and take them up next time. See what everybody's interest is.
How big is the agenda for the 22nd right now?
That's my question.
Manageable. Yeah, I mean, it's manageable. There's certain, I mean, these aren't going to take us to 11 o'clock on the 22nd or anything like that, so. I mean, you know better than the rest of us how much discussion to expect on this one.
Most of these are relatively straightforward. I think the one that might, foster some discussion is the professional teacher status one. And it might be beneficial to at least start that conversation and then table everything after that would be my suggestion. Just to see if anybody has any other feedback that we need to consider before we finalize that one.
Okay, so why don't we start, we'll start with a motion to adopt policy GCJ, and then we can start discussion on that one and see where we net out. And if you all want to, sneak out, please do.
Good night.
Yeah, and thank you for hanging in. This is our longest meeting in a while.
Turn the lights on when you leave.
Yeah. If anybody could figure out where the breaker is for the lights, that'd be great.
All arm said about having a clear head. Even though, you think you can get through it, it's still a discussion that may not be a good discussion at this time.
Why don't we do this? You made the motion. Why don't we not second the motion for now? Tom, why don't you just introduce this one so we know what the discussion is, and then we'll come back to it next time.
Sure. So this one in particular was one that Michelle brought forward to us as she was looking at certain things and had concerns about how it was worded before. So we, in concert with Michelle, we've had 3 meetings on this one at this point in time, I believe, as a subcommittee. We have consulted with legal on it as well. Legal even advised we potentially, if we wanted to, could completely revoke this policy because Mass General Law is pretty clear in what was there. As a subcommittee, we didn't feel like revoking it was necessarily what we wanted to do, but we did want to clean up and clarify, certain parts of it. So some of the big stuff was adding the definition of clarifying, qualifying years and defining what that meant. So I've put the red line version up. You have it in your packet. In particular, that they're teaching under a regular license, or another appropriate license, not an emergency or waiver, because we have some staff that start under that, and which shouldn't start their professional teacher status until they get the regular license, and then that they're not on leave for more than 30 calendar days during that year that they're one of their professional teacher years. So theoretically, they could be working instead of 3 years, it might be 4 years, but one of those 4 years, they were on leave for more than a month, essentially. So we want to make sure we get a full period of time to recognize that, essentially. There's some other language in here cleaning up in terms of allowing for, allowing with law, satisfactory evaluations, good conduct, et cetera, that provide, more flexibility to the administration team. But again, they're aligned with MGL 7142 in particular, to make sure that our policy is not handcuffing us more than the law does.
Can I ask two questions about intent and not debate the language tonight?
Sure.
Is the intent that a teacher in their 3rd year that we don't want to renew, is the intent that teacher would not receive professional teacher status even if they complete that 3rd year?
If we don't want to renew them, we would notify them they will not be renewed.
Okay. Okay. Okay, so that's helpful. And then the 30 calendar day leave, is the intent that a 30 calendar day during any given year would require an additional year of service, or that's the intent, right? So it could be 2 over 5 potentially, or you gave the example 1 over 4, but it could be 2 over 5 as well?
Yep.
Okay.
That's where the each year was added in particular as part of that conversation.
Yeah, okay. Anything else just for clarity and understanding before we walk away from this one and come back to it in a couple of
I
weeks?
thought it was a good discussion, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Talked about it a lot.
Sarah, Carla, since we're new to this one? No?
No intelligent thought left.
Okay, understood. All right, why don't we take a motion to table E8 and E9, and then we will take one more motion and get the heck out of here. It's
I
probably
moved
not
to
on your
table,
list.
I moved to table E8 and E9
Is there a second?
until the next meeting.
Thank you. Until our next meeting on June 22nd, seconded by Chuck. I don't think this is discussable or debatable. All in favor? All opposed? That carries 6-0. And is there a final motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Seconded by Tom. All in favor? All opposed? Carries 6-0. Thank you, everyone.